that sweet sound.
Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights. Let's talk about what's been going on at Viking Ice Arena. You've never seen a league so exciting and tough and fast. It simply must be discussed on an equally exciting and tough podcast. What's it called? Monday Night Lights. Yeah. Monday Night Lights. Monday Night Lights. What's been going down on the ice? Who are the leaders? Who are the failures? The Ducks, the Tigers, the Nordiques, the Whalers, the Seals, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
Oh, the Monday Night Lights podcast is back. Brian Piercy here, along with Mr. Cam and Pantydropper.
Hey.
Troy Otto is on vacation with his wife, getting a little if you know what I mean. And apparently, Hedis was on the road coming in for our fourth microphone we now have, but apparently the rain got to him and he had to turn around. So
Lightning scares a lot of people nowadays, so I understand.
so you finally made it in, Cam. Is this as
Yes.
exciting as you thought it was going to be?
I am, I'm 2 hours coming in. I'm like, started sweating, getting nervous. Had to go grab some beer. I was like,
I get really nervous when I have to go to Piercy's house too. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to make it back out. Back in the well, it's a dangerous place.
I'm excited to be here. It's I got a lot of input, and I've been watching. Everybody, please subscribe. It's a good show.
I've been
It's a good
studying
time.
the tape.
So
Yeah.
a few reminders real quick. As always, leave us a voicemail, 714-75-WHOOP. Sam, I've missed you. Leave me some more messages. Email the podcast at podcast@mnlhl.com. Follow us on Twitch and subscribe to us on Twitch. There should be a lot of people that are into that second month. I know I'm month 2. I know Drager's month 2. I'm not sure about anybody else, but make sure to hit that button free, especially if you have that Amazon Prime. Help donate to the league. As always, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Stitcher. We actually had our first review on iTunes. So we got a 5-star rating. Title was pretty cool. Sweet podcast, even though I don't know much about hockey. Signed, Bin Sun.
All right.
I like how he doesn't even call out his own name. He's just like, you'll know me as Bin Son.
I mean, with
Legacies, man. He's leaving legacies behind. Ben,
isn't
that
he
guy.
also technically a bin?
That is true. The bin legacy is really strong, and they self-identify really hard. I've heard of Grandma Bin in the past. Like, it's a serious business.
I think I just saw that. Looks like Dave DP gave us another month 2.
There you
so
go,
we got,
buddy.
Shawnee with his little
There you go.
towel going in, and like I said, we now have a 4th microphone. We thought we were going to be using it today. So if you're interested, Cam was showing interest before. If you want to come in as be a guest of the podcast, send me a message, let me know, and we'll get you in here. I'm hoping to have Ben on the 3rd when we do the Dcunn Prop Bets Awards.
There we go.
We wanted him to specialize in that. Panny, I know you got dragged in today. You weren't planning on it, but glad you're here, especially because Hedis canceled on us.
Yeah, it turns out Hedis is the worst. I just do want to make a little bit of a call out. We did mention our voicemail, and we mentioned Sam explicitly earlier. Our boy's on the IR for the time being. I'm hoping he's going to have a really quick recovery, be able to come back. He is the heart and soul of those Americans. He is their captain.
Captain
Through and through.
America.
Captain America. So I'm hoping he comes back really soon. He's able to, heal up and get ready and bring his team to a championship.
We all wish Sam the best in his quick recovery, but
Let's go, Sam.
I have a hard time believing that his thumbs are on the IR or his voice for those voicemails I'm expecting from him.
No, his voice is 100%. His thumbs are 100%. I think it's just his spirit. And I think once that comes back, that cold-blooded red, white, and blue American spirit, he's going to drop you plenty of voicemails.
Oh, yeah. So let's get down to some news and some rumors. First rumor is I've heard a rumor that Pantydropper's at a risk of missing the season opener.
So I am potentially.
I've also, to go further, there are questions, is his career over?
Oh,
So
don't drop it on us tonight.
Anything is a potential. Anything can happen. For me right now, I have a what the doctors have prescribed as a medial meniscus injury, not necessarily a tear. That dastardly house over a year ago now. He's a 2-2 hunter, and he knows this.
How can we forget?
How can we forget? He got me pretty good. It may have been incidental, but I'll never forget it. That same injury flared up about a month ago, and then it just didn't feel right. Took a week off, played again, didn't feel right, went to the doctor, and physical therapy is on the agenda for now. And then after about a month of reevaluation, and then after that reevaluation, if everything's good, it'll be just in time for the home opener. Probably going to dress regardless. I can't miss even if it's just for the photo op, I can't miss the Scott Wilkie retirement session.
No.
I got to be a part of it. We're going to have the ceremonial puck drop with me and Troy at center ice, Wilkie dropping it. So I can't miss that for the world.
Yeah,
So.
if you're bored, go to our Twitch page and go under events, and you'll see a preview of the red carpet walk by the Nordiques. I feel like they're ready to go. It's already in the event for the 3rd, so I'm pretty excited for that. Next item on the agenda, Danny Hall makes an appearance on the Sunday drop-in on 8/11/2019. Skating through, there's a guy kind of playing uniform pretty good. Doesn't seem like he's going super hard. All of a sudden, I think Maff comes over to my bench. I'm like, who's that guy there? He's not in our league, is he? And he's like, that's Danny Hall. I was just like, WTF. Okay. And then after the game, he kind of was going around. He kind of had his head down. Who do I pay? I'm not going to lie. I felt a little bit bad for him, surprisingly.
So, funny story before we go a little bit further. I actually played and hung out with him the previous night, and we went and played over at Fraser, and he was definitely the different Danny Hall that I had met a couple of years ago, who actually got me into the league with Dave P and everybody, but very apologetic, very quiet to talk about it. He's like, man, feel really bad, made a mistake. I'm like, well, I mean, he kind of fucked up a little bit, bud, but as an introduction to the MNL for me, it was like, whoa, this guy's slugging 60-year-old refs, so this might be an exciting league for me to join. So, I don't know, man. He was very timid. I remember he walked in the locker room and was like, who do I give it to? I'm like,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to mend fences. I don't know. I don't think I see him joining the league anytime soon, but, try to help the guy out, little things like that. I guess it's not the end of the world, but...
It starts with a good example is our boy Tom Phillips. He was a
heard he's a podcast listener.
Heard he's a podcast listener.
Shout out Tom.
He made he expressed interest in potentially joining the league. Stuff got a little complicated and had to drop. And then he's just like, hey, sorry, didn't mean to do that, but how do I get back in? First thing he asked was, am I still allowed to listen to the podcast? I'm like, of course. especially
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
The answer is yes.
like, comment, subscribe. However, the steps are kind of the same for him or for Danny or anybody else, because not to say they're blacklisted or something, Danny explicitly was quote unquote redacted.
Yeah,
but
Tom didn't beat up a ref.
that is true. But as people try to reform and get better,
People don't forget.
I'm a believer of second chances, third chances, far too many chances of if people can truly work their way back in, get on the sub list, play in some drop-ins without punching people, get to the point where hey man, maybe we can find you maybe you play on the Worms or the K-Falcons or some
he was
team
very
and you do fine.
He was
then
very
talk
timid
about
on
it.
that Sunday skate. He was. I think I saw him pass the puck more to Troy than anybody on the North Star deed.
Oh,
you
that
know,
was
so.
100%
Yes.
intentional.
Oh,
That was
absolutely.
literally just being like, Troy, would you like to?
I'm pretty
score a
sure
goal?
his brother doesn't even pass it.
Yeah,
Troy that
I
month,
did
so
hear.
I will say that.
I did hear a rumor that he's under consideration for a possible WBW spot, which is surprising. But when he did sub for us a few times before the incident happened, I was surprised. He was an actual pretty nice guy outside of what his Facebook posts were, which I'm not a big fan of. But
I don't think a lot of people are, Piercy.
I feel like Ty is, but that's besides the point. So, Danny Hall, to be continued. I thought game was over, but who knows? One thing I forgot to mention when I heard Panny say subscribe, all that. YouTube channel, make sure you head over there, subscribe. We're getting close to being able to get a custom URL. Ooh. It's got the theme song over there.
Ooh.
our most popular video in a 2-week span out of all the other videos. People love that song.
Just Jeremy Coan likes that song. He's the
I
only
will say
person
I was
listening
showering to
repeat.
it on the way over here, so I'm just saying. It's a great song.
You were showering on the way over here?
Yeah, it's raining outside. Yeah.
Did you walk? Panty will give you a ride home.
So on the topic of the theme song,
Thanks,
yesterday
guys.
during
Welcome to
the
the podcast.
during the preseason games, I decided to do the NBA type of setup, just play music throughout, very light, kind of help keep a rhythm. It's a drop and it's soft, NBA style. They kind of play the music throughout. The end of the second intermission, I just hear ka-chunk, and I look over, and Piercy's unplugged my phone, plugs in his, and starts playing the Monday Night Lights podcast theme song. Everyone is sitting there, just kind of like on the bench, just like nothing's going on. And I look over, and big boy urban cowboy Jeremy Coan's fist pumping from the bench. He's loving it. And it's just like, at least one person was happy. But it
it's
completely
catchy.
killed the mojo.
Just like
It did not. No, it did not. That
It went
song
from
grows
gun-
on you like fungus. All of a sudden, it starts in your head, and you can't get it out. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're just like, damn,
That's
that's
a
a
song
good
to play in
joint.
the
You know,
pregame
honestly,
warmies, but not during the game.
It was the first time I heard it.
It was
today.
during intermission.
No idea about it. I heard it today, threw it on. I was like, I'm getting prepped for the podcast, and I heard it, and I probably laughed for a good 30 minutes straight. I was like, this is great. We need more of this.
So, next on our agenda, apparently the Seals had a team barbecue. Is Whoop getting his groove back? He organized that, or maybe McCrackin organized it because it sounds like his is a house, and I don't know if Whoop has the ability to organize anything.
So when the preseason schedule was first released to the executive office, the first response was from Whoop, and it said, "This is perfect. The Seals have a team outing on August 12th, and because it was the bye week that week, they're like, oh, this is going to be fine. Like, this is perfect for us." My first inclination is like, you got a team that has Whoop, you got a team that has the General. We're going to Bazookies, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. No. That's insensitive. We're going to Legends, right? And he's like, oh, I don't want to spoil it. But I'm like, it's not like I'm fucking invited. You can't spoil it for me if I'm not going to it.
I can go to Legends whenever I want. If I go there every day, you got to deal with it.
Piercy goes to
I
Legends
think
every
Piercy
single day.
just said he went to. I'm pretty sure he just admitted he went to Legends every day.
Anyways, so it sounds like they had a nice little gathering at the House of Shamrocks.
Oh, wow.
Good attendance, great time had by all. So
Okay.
good for them building up
Yeah.
that. Sometimes secret practices come later in the season. It sounds like the Seals started early and they decided to mask it by going to House of Shamrocks, but it sounds like they're more likely at Hazel Park Ice Arena.
I saw them last week when they played in the preseason game, and I gotta admit, it looks like the same Seals team they did last year.
I would challenge that. It sounds like we're going a little bit into the preseason conversation, but I would challenge it a little bit in the sense that, like, they are built the same way,
Yeah.
but I think they're trying to adjust a little bit. I think their defense has taken a step up,
They have.
and that's good. And I heard Dylan talk constantly just bowing down to McCrackin last night. He's like, "You're the best defenseman we have on our team, and we need you, and you're huge." And then, like,
Wow.
And
Wow,
so
that's,
that's good.
What really happened at House of Shamrocks is what I want to know.
So you talked about it. Let's move on to the games. We'll start kind of week 1.5 to 2 because the first game on the agenda was last Thursday. The Whalers defeated the Ducks 3-2. There was a controversial goal. Some people claimed it was an icing. The way that I saw it, I don't know what you saw, Cam, was it would have been an icing, but Mr. Jeremy Coan went and played the puck before it actually crossed that line, and then he misplayed it, causing a scuffle and a goal being scored by, I believe it was Weaver.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you guys speak, and then I'll chime in.
Okay. Well, from what I saw is from a goalie's perspective, when you go out and play the puck and you know it's probably going to be an intentional icing, and you go play it like he did, icing waved off. Drop in or not, he went out and played the puck right on the goal line. Fair game at that point. If I'm letting a drop in and I get an ice, I'm going to call icing and I'm going to skate behind my net. He skated out towards the goal line and went and played the puck. Peso picked it up, got fumbled around. Weaver bears it. So
Sounds like you have thoughts on this,
Yeah.
Traeger.
So when this topic first came up in Slack, it literally starts with the concept of like icing. Is it a thing in drop-ins? And I'm like, my opinion, like, of course it fucking is. Like, I
Yeah.
watched the game last night. I saw people react to icings. I see the people who are going to come in and crash on shit, they're peeling off. And I was like, it's a thing.
Yeah.
People have that respect for the most part. If an icing is not blatantly obvious, people for the most part do their best to try and, like, maybe they get a little soft in that type of not blatantly obvious scenario. But when it's obvious, they'll play it right.
I mean, you saw. I mean, when they dumped in the puck, Coan skated straight out to it. So it wasn't like a lackadaisical, like, oh, I'm just gonna pick it up and we're gonna pick up on a breakout. So from what I saw, from a goalie standpoint, I mean, he went out to play the puck. He fumbled it around. Fair game.
That's the key thing, though. When we had this whole conversation discussion, nobody mentioned, like, Coan literally came out to play the puck on the goal line.
Right.
Everyone just talks like, icing.
Yeah.
Is it in drop-ins? I'm like, of course it is. But, like, I know Coan.
Yeah.
I think we
he's
all
know Coan.
He's the goalie I play the most in front of. He's the one who deals with my bullshit the most.
Yeah.
And I kind of know the way that he likes to play the puck. He wants to get better at it, so he's going to try and do it.
Well, he
during
was also
drop-ins and
testing my
skates.
stick that night too, so I think I saw him
Also
play.
fair.
I saw him play that puck a lot.
Also
got to
fair.
test it out.
But I'm saying nobody mentioned that in the sense that he literally came out to play. When you come out to play, when you touch the puck before it
Right.
crosses, obviously the goalies or the icing's waved off, and the goalie,
Correct.
the onus is on them. So,
Yep.
in the end, based off of what I've heard, originally I was a non-believer. I think I'm a believer now, 3-2.
I think the Ducks were
But I
just
just
a
wish-
tad bit salty about how the game ended.
I'm just gonna put a lot of onus on Troy for literally just saying, like, drop-ins. They don't have icings. I'm like, you're a fucking fool. But now I realize he's talking about his Coan sitting there playing the puck like it's freaking hopscotch.
Hey, either way, if you want to say it's a tie, if you want to say it's a win by the Whalers, which I think we agree on that as a group here, as a trusted source of MNL.
I mean, the Ducks played us good.
Busta, he had a goal. I think Matt Lapoudre had a goal. I thought that one was a little bit weak, Cam. Sorry about that.
No worries. It was.
And then, was it Venandi had 2 goals. Our late round guy burying in those goals. He's
nice like top.
He's
top-
pulling some
top cheese
hell.
snipes.
So
I was actually pretty impressed.
it's kind of hard to complain there. But as far as teams go, you were seeing the game the whole time.
Right.
Well, how did you think the Whalers' performance happened, Cam?
I think there was a lot of chemistry. I think it was, from what I saw, everybody was battling to the puck. If there was a loose puck, either DP was on it right away, Pesa was on it right away, Trent Serta, obviously really good chemistry right there. You and Lapoudre, great communication, switching back and forth. I mean, I think we were all just synced. It was just a good sync. A couple little things we got to work on here and there, like every team does. But overall, I felt really comfortable, and I think we got a pretty good squad. I'm pretty excited about it. So
I agree to that point. I think the one thing is the Ducks, they have a good defensive core, so they're hard to go against.
Yep.
I think our offense has a little bit of chemistry we'll have, but I think when you have a Peso, you have a Dave P,
Yep.
you have a Trent, and you have a Serta, that second line is going to be tough for anybody to stop.
Yeah.
The Ducks, they are who I thought they were. They have a good defensive core. That first line, they're quick, minus Busta, of course. Ben's moving the puck around. I think Rubo actually told me he yelled at Ben because there's a couple of times he said it was one-on-one versus me and Ben passed the puck. He's like, why didn't you just go around him and treat him? He's been talking shit about you the whole time.
Turtle said that. Not
Or maybe
Ruble.
it was Turtle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it kind of shows you maybe he didn't think he could. I don't know.
Hey, I think that's a Dennis Greencoat quote. They are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, and I've only seen the one Ducks game from last night, and talking to my trusted source of my co-GM who is the brains behind the operation and breaks stuff down because he sees it from the back and he sees everything.
Mr. Coan.
He subbed for every fucking team so far, so he knows far better than I would. My fat ass has been on the sidelines, but the thing about the Ducks is that they have some dynamicism when it comes to Sugar, and it comes to Ben, and it comes to Turtle. They do have some talent that is able to make some stuff happen. They have some good key players throughout, but it's going to be the second line that's going to be the difference maker for them, and that second line is going to be a little bit slower, especially when you say Busta and Sugar, those guys click.
Yep.
They're going to play on the top line together. how does the rest of the lineup kind of fit all together?
I will mention something about the D. Rubel played a lot of step-up plays last night, so they have an offensive D man.
Yeah.
So I mean, he can move around people. He can move the puck. He can shoot.
That's going to be modus operandi for them all season.
Exactly.
Yep.
It was interesting because that first line offensively can be scary. Busta, we all know he's got some good hands in front of the net, and he can shoot the puck.
Scored on me
Ben
last week.
can move the puck around, and Sugar, can't say anything bad about him. He's a fucking bulldog when it comes down to that.
Proctor every fucking week. However, Sugar, he's the best. I like him so much. Oh boy. Oh boy.
But you didn't let me finish. But it was very rare. They were putting a lot of pressure on us, but I didn't feel like we were in a lot of trouble against them the majority of the time. And on the other end of things, I don't know if Busta crossed into his defensive zone the whole game. It felt like when we were in the offensive zone, we were on a power play. And
a lot of cycling.
When they tried to put, a couple times they pushed it up to Busta for a cherry breakaway. We caught him like a snap of the finger, and he didn't have a breakaway anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you and Laputa were pinching that whole game, so it was good pinching. There wasn't any mistakes really made. I think they maybe got one breakaway, and that was it.
So this brings up a great point for the entire preseason so far, which is the exception of like maybe one game. Games have been tied. Games have been one goal differential that's been riddled with controversy. So who knows if it's 3-2 versus 2-2. So like these have been really close all season or all preseason, and that bodes pretty well for the rest of this season. I think the one game that I'm just like, I have no clue how this is going to shake out was the two Titans of the Americans and the Tigers, where the Americans are playing with like fucking -4 skaters.
Yeah.
And the Tigers came at them with like they subbed, like I think the conversation piece, like they subbed up from Riley to whomever or whatever. But like in that particular situation, like I really don't know what to make of those two teams and how they're going to butt heads.
I don't think we've actually seen the full two teams. So that's
I don't think we've seen a single full team all season.
Exactly. No,
Yeah,
but it's hard to, judge everything off of preseason, predictions and everything. So
my last point on this game was the second line of the Ducks. It was Turtle out there. It was Neville, and I believe it was Charles. I'm trying to think if he's on that team or if he was a sub.
Charles would have. Was this on Thursday?
Thursday, yes.
That
Thursday.
he would have been a sub. Charles is a Tiger.
Yes. So I believed he subbed.
Yeah, he subbed.
So Neville,
He's
playing
Seal. Right. So that's two subs with him.
Neville actually had a lot of opportunities with the Ducks.
But the part is Neville was trying his hardest as a 10th rounder. He's playing his ass off, but Turtle was kind of out on an island as far as skill-wise goes, going against, Trent and Dave P. or Trent and Peso. Going against Trent and Peso, it's just going to be a tough time for that second line, is my point.
But that's how that team's built, and that's one of the challenges where we're starting to get to the point where teams are building, or GMs are building teams the way they want to.
Yeah.
The Seals built a Seals team this year.
Yes, they did.
The North Stars built maybe not the quintessential North Stars team that they kind of think of when the North Stars are going to be rough and ragged. They're going to try and fuck you up. They're going to try and cause some trouble. But they built the 2017 North Stars where they said, I'm going to take some fucking flyers on the new guys and see how they pan out. Ty said that today in Slack alone.
Yep.
The Deeks obviously didn't have the benefit of the first and second overall pick again this year, so their draft's going to be a little bit different. I think the Whalers went a little bit more from a Serta type of draft to a Trent kind of draft.
Yes.
And we'll kind of see how that pans out. But, once you kind of break it down, you start to realize the type of teams that people are putting together. And the Ducks are a type of team that they're not afraid to try and say, we're going to have a line 1 and a line 2. Mm-hmm. Putting Bin, Sugar, and somebody like Busta, which, Sugar and Busta, they click well.
Yeah.
Somebody like Ben who's able to work well with Sugar to try and say, that's our line 1. All right, that makes sense. We're going to do that and try to have a solid defense or as solid of a defense as we can and follow that up with saying, a weak-ish or middle of the road line 2 that's centered by Turtle. That's what they want.
I think, honestly, just a little sneak peek on Turtle. I think Turtle has stepped up his game a lot. I think he's a better puck handler. He's a little bit more quicker to the puck. He can move his feet a little faster now.
And he's another one of those guys that his son, I think, is starting to play hockey. I think I don't know if he's necessarily a coach, but I think he's helping out a little bit.
Yep.
We've seen this with Dave P. His game's improved since that's happened as well, so that could be part of it. But
and part of those skates, too.
Let's
So
move
it's
on
cool
to
see.
week 2. The Stars versus the Ducks happened yesterday. 2-2 tie. Real quick, just to go over things. Lots of subs in this game. We had Cam subbing for ryanZ. We had Coan for Bauer. We had Edge for Brauny, and we had Trent in for Bin. In my opinion, a lot of sub-ups. Over on the North Star side of things, we had Rattler for Cunningham, Neville for Crunk. Cam, give us your opinion of this game since you were in there kind of behind the nets of what you saw.
So I actually think we saw a better Ducks team last week. Obviously subs and everything like that. If I am a Duck right now, I'm a little bit concerned about their goaltending situation. Z just comes off a knee surgery, hasn't played. Best of luck to him, obviously, but I'd be a little concerned about that he's going to be coming into the season fresh. I don't know how much I don't know how much he skated. I don't know about that. I do think, like we've all brought up, that first line is definitely going to be the line they bank on. Their second line needs some work. Now on the North Star side, this is not the same North Stars team we've seen. Sorry, Troy, but this is not the same North Stars team as last year. Obviously, a lot of subs still, but a little bit slower. A little bit slower than from what I've seen last year. What do you guys think about that?
So I want to give some color on ryanZ because in a situation we kind of described earlier, the first time you played with the Deeks. We ended up picking you up.
Right.
The week or second week before that, ryanZ played for us. And ryanZ in the locker room goes like, yo, man, this is my first game or something, like really recent game back from a knee surgery.
Oh, wow. So he's had 2.
And so this is like that one was his primary one. Yeah. And the most recent one has been some cleanup. Okay. But when we heard that, I was just like, oh, God. This is your first game back. Yeah. Like, I'm really nervous. Like, how's that knee going to do? Like, we got a little nervous and we kind of fled away from it. And then what happened? He ended up playing a great season for the Ducks.
Vezina last year,
He fucking had a phenomenal season for the North Stars.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we sit here and we talk about like, oh yeah, like ryanZ's coming back from a surgery, but like ryanZ came back from a surgery in the past and had a great basically season and a half where he was able to put together two good teams. So
but I'm not talking smack. I just
I get that.
As a GM, I'd be very worried. Like he is getting older. Is he going to recover like he did last time?
Yeah, I know, and that's something we'll have to wait and see. Yep. But in terms of how a guy like that rebounds, like he rebounded really well last time and proved me absolutely wrong because that's the last thing I expected for a guy because he's like you said, he's not a young guy and he rebounded well last time. I feel pretty confident that he's able to do something to have a good season for his team.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, me looking at this game, I thought the North Stars outplayed the Ducks even though it was a tie. I think Troy had 2 off the cross post or off the post.
Oh, yeah, two off the post. Yeah.
So, just there, I thought they subbed down. I thought the Ducks subbed up, so it's a tough thing. It's a tough game. The Ducks, like I said, they were built to as a defensive team, so they're kind of getting their job done there, but I thought the North Stars outplayed them even though the score was even.
We talked about Darren earlier. Darren just got married, right?
Darren got married a week ago last Saturday.
Oh, congratulations to podcast listener Darren Cunningham.
Is he a podcast listener?
Like, comment, subscribe. If he's playing with Troy, it's probably fucking
I think it's a requirement of the North Stars.
You're going to have a composite stick and you're going to listen to the podcast. You're going to listen to my opinions.
I know apparently he texted him about something, said we talked about you on the podcast. He told me he listened to part of it or a full episode and then called Troy an idiot. This was, I think, before the draft.
Sounds accurate.
I believe Cunningham was out. I don't know. He might have been back from his He left on his honeymoon a week from last Monday. They left the morning, so I don't know. I think they were gone for a week or so. So I don't know if he was actually technically back or just getting back, jet lag, all that stuff. So very reasonable of why he was out. But yeah, Rattler, in my opinion, that's a sub down. Rattler, I did like how he's playing. He's playing a little bit of aggressive.
I saw one point where he did a diving poke check trying to break the puck off a sugar stick when he was coming in on maybe a 2-on-1 or a 2-on-0.
Yep.
Spicy.
You could tell he's played, even though he's a SEAL this year, you can tell he's played with the North Stars because he was playing the North Stars way. A couple little dirty plays on Gibb going on in the corner. He's definitely had some training by the Autos.
Really, really quick side note story. I went to Griffin Club Brewing Company, sponsor us, and I bumped into Darren there.
You act like they're watching by pointing at the camera.
Oh, everyone's
You know,
watching.
you never know, man.
All of our sponsors are watching right
Absolutely.
now. So bumped into him there, him and his fiance and a friend. And I was just like, go to the wife. I was like, I think that's Darren. I'm gonna go say, and I kind of like approach him, like, oh, it is Darren. I'm like, hey, how's it going? You know, got introduced to his fiance for like the third time now. He's like, oh yeah, this is Jeremy. He runs the shit. And I'm so like, oh yeah, how's it going? It's
I
like,
could
good.
totally just see him saying that exact phrase right there.
So I go and sit down at our table, and I'm like, oh, man. And I take, like, it was literally when Troy was talking about Darren in Slack. So I took a picture of him and sent it to Slack. Troy sends me a text message. He's like, go ask him what type of stick he likes. I need to know for when I buy it for him. I'm like, no. He's having a nice, lovely dinner with his wife. I'm not going to go over and be like, do you prefer the Yakupov curve compared to the McDavid curve? Which one do you like?
You know, when he was on the Seals last year, I actually had a conversation with him. Like, so you know, like why the Sherwood sticks? And you know, it's like cheap and affordable, and I do a pretty good job with them. I'm like, so what do you do with a normal composite stick? yeah.
Well, I at one point in time last year, he slashed at my stick. And I like
probably snapped it.
We went back to the bench, and I kind of like leaned over and like, you know, Darren was on my team the season before. I traded the guy, so he probably still hates me. Yeah. But like I lean over, I'm just like, hey man, like I paid for my sticks just like you pay for yours, bud. Let's not fucking try to break them. And he's just like, yeah, and I buy wood sticks for a fucking reason. I'm like, it all makes sense now. You just go, almost broke the fucker in half.
Yeah, for the record, I did deliver him his sticks. It was the day after the wedding, so a week ago Sunday. They had a brunch I went to, and 85 Flex, he's just like, I'm going to break these sticks in probably a week or two.
He's a guy who likes a 120 Flex. I'm surprised you didn't wrap those up yourself and be like, hey, Darren, I hope you really enjoyed this wedding gift I brought you, and just fucking 2 sticks. Troy, re-gifted. Piercy took credit.
I'm too smart to be giving him
Scratch
85
out Troy Otto, put in Brian Piercy really quick. Yep.
I'm too smart to be giving him 85 Flex sticks. Come on. That would make me look bad amongst the Cunningham family. I know last thing for this game, kind of side story, is brother Kevin, who just moved back from Minnesota and plays hockey, now a lawyer, just started working down in Detroit. He was telling me, I think about a year and a half ago, he's like, yeah, I think it was like 120 or 125 Flex. He's like, I wish I could find actual stiffer sticks. He's like, they're not good enough for me, but it's the best I can get. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, what the hell? So I tried to actually get him in MNL when we kind of had those late bails, but he was in Minnesota visiting his girlfriend at the time, so he couldn't come to the skate. So can't really get someone in if you can't see the guy skate. So it's a shame, but who knows? Maybe one day.
Anybody who prioritizes their loved one over MNL is no friend of mine.
Exactly. So the next game of the evening, final one, would be the Seals versus the Americans. In this one, the Seals, Coan sub from McCrackin. No offense, Coan. Probably a sub down. The Americans, I think Maff was in for Woods. We had Troy in for AJ, and we had Hal in for Sam. Quick little sidebar on this one. Before the game, or during game number 1, I show up because I want to scout for the podcast. I see Whoop at the scorekeeper's booth. I'm talking to him. He's just like, I don't know if the general's showing up this year at all. We just got him in the Slack channel. You know, Chad, I see an opening for you, buddy. I see an opening for you.
I mean, I brought this up in the Illumintendi app, hashtag Miss Chad. So, I mean, hey, buddy, we miss you.
Hey, call on the Whoop line. Not the podcast Whoop line. Call Whoop. He might have a spot for you.
There
But
you go.
Either way, Drager, let's have you start on your opinions of this game.
So for this game, I think, and I'm gonna, base this a lot around what I kind of heard from Dylan the night of last night. Dylan's speaking a lot of like, oh man, I didn't really see like a lot from this. You guys talk a lot about this Proctor guys. Like I played against him. I played across from J-Flow so much, and we're sitting here in the Labatt Blue Party deck, sponsor us, and we're saying like, you haven't seen Proctor. Like, you've seen Proctor physically, you've seen him play hockey, you haven't seen him at his highest element. And
What was the score of that game last night?
The score of the game ended up being 3-3.
Okay.
But I just want to say that, Proctor looked a little, like, soft, a little slow. Maybe he's cherry picking all night long, blah, blah. And then my boy Dylan decides to take the game into his own hands and checks Proctor behind the boards to separate him from the puck. And Proctor does that thing where he literally goes Super Saiyan. He just takes it up another level. And he's just like, all right, we're taking over. Literally has like this beautiful fucking play over to Antioch, ends up scoring in the last 30 seconds. And Dylan's just like, no big deal. I'm like, Dylan, I didn't know, he's probably listening right now. I was just like, he's like, there was nothing wrong with that play. I'm like, you know, we're a no checking league, right? He goes, I'm sorry, what? And I'm like, yeah, we're a no checking league. He's like, I didn't know that. And then Hedges is like, are we blue line or are we red line icing? And he's just like, I don't know. And I'm like, read the rules at rules.mnlhl.com.
I mean, I did get
Catch up on
I
them.
got suspended last season for checking somebody in a Royal OK, so we'll just say that.
Just saying. Like,
And that's
make,
A's.
make sure you're up on the rules.
Yeah.
But,
Don't
you know,
check people.
I digress past, Dylan's transgressions. You look at somebody like Proctor, who he's the type of guy during preseason isn't going to fight to try and, prove himself. We talked about it a little bit today in Slack. Somebody like Judge, who tied in his game, and according to Ty, the player, the GM, was just like, he looked like he lost. And he's like, that's the kind of fight that I want to see. You tied and you think you lost. You didn't win. It's like, yeah, that's a kind of good way to view it. Like, Proctor, I think, kind of just like, man, it's a preseason game. I'm going to, have some fun. I'm going to play a little hard. Going to do what I need to do. But when that motherfucker feels disrespect, he goes off. And he tries his best afterwards. And I think it showed up a little bit last night. And I think we haven't seen the full Americans, obviously, because of the fact that we haven't seen the full roster put together the way we kind of expect. A lot of people have questions about Line 2. I'll have my opinions about Line 2 later if we want to go into that. But, it's a talent like Proctor that will show up full force when you actually challenge him like that.
So I think Dylan is watching. We just got something on.
It wasn't a check. It was a stiff arm. Thanks, Dylan. Sure. Yeah, he's watching.
I will say I noticed it looks like
Dylan
Dylan
with
got
the
a
fucking
haircut
Heisman.
and he trimmed his beard. So, good look for him. This was a boring game.
Looks don't stop.
I was bored out
conspiracies.
of my mind the majority of it. I'm going to say this. The highlight of the game for me was Mr. Pfister. He sat in the score booth with us, chatted it up with him. Super nice guy. Possible guy who wants to run a scoreboard weekly for us. Maybe we'll take advantage of it.
Uncle Pfister. Are we talking about Uncle Pfister here?
Is that an uncle or a dad?
Uncle.
Okay.
Okay.
that's-
Yeah,
Well,
Uncle Pfister.
Mr.
Yeah.
Pfister, whatever.
Uncle Feaster he was only watching game 1. Game 2, as soon as it kind of came up, he's like, I have to go take my position. Waltz right around, goes right to the fan section. He's in the student section cheering for Chris the entire time.
Yep.
So, I'd like to have him run the scoreboard. But
I'm
I
actually
think,
pretty sure last week they had a whole family base
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So, I mean, Chris is a good guy. I played with him on the Golden Stones when I was subbing in for Hedis when he was in Djibouti. Really cool guy. He's got an awesome fiance, soon to be married, I believe. But even talking to him, his uncle, at the draft and just kind of bullshitting him about the last week's preseason game. We've talked about it for what, 2 seasons now. Like, we just need somebody locked in 100%. Looks like we might have our guy.
well, that's the thing is that like we always enjoy people who are true fans of the league. People who don't necessarily need to play with us, but just enjoy hanging around, enjoy the kind of concept of us, And that's what Mr. Feaster is, hands down.
Dave, I don't think he counts shots. He said he's got some experience running a scoreboard, basic stuff. But
All right, can I just shut this down really quick? I saw this on Slack today. There is no way we are counting shots in the MNL. First of all, everybody needs to know what a shot is on goal to consider it a shot. I think the 2 goalies, if you guys want to count your own shots, and then you see how horrible your save percentages look after you actually count all the shots in a game that you think you're getting lit up on, you might take that back and you might watch your save percentage go down because you actually not doing too great. We are in beer league hockey.
yeah, for counting shots, we would essentially need to hire a part-time MNL employee and have to get GoPros or some kind of cameras and tape every game and have them view the film.
I know
and at
Dylan's
that-
watching. I get it. Me and him played junior hockey. We played competitive hockey. We used to have parents, coaches count our shots on net, where they were actually taken in the zone. get it 100%. Not this league. It's not
and
gonna
is
happen.
Drager being one of the
It's not gonna happen.
Is Drager being probably the main guy running the league? I'm sure he can relate to this. A lot of times people, with this podcast included, has great ideas, but when it comes down to executing those ideas, they actually don't want to do it. They're more like, hey, we should do this, meaning, hey, you should do that. I don't want to do that. When normally you're like, I love it, run with it, let's do it. Then they're like,
I will say, like, when you do play like competitive hockey and stuff, usually as a backup goalie for that game, you're counting your partner's shots. If we want to do that aspect, yeah, we can have goalies count the shots. Is anybody gonna stay for the second game?
Or are people going to show up before the first game?
Exactly.
And not ditch out on it before they have to change.
It might happen for like 1 week, 2 week, and then they're gonna see how much of a pain it ass is when they're trying to drink beer and bullshit with friends, and then it's gonna fall off.
2 things. I've been dealing with Piercy for 6 years, and what he just said is the most correct thing I've ever heard. People are like, oh, we gotta do this. And I'm like, all right,
Roll your eyes at me.
who's going to be the person who is actually doing this and managing this? Oh, just fucking hire someone. I'm like, all right, cool. Second off, like when Hedges first joined the league, he obviously had like a similar opinion. Like, yeah, we should try and track shots on net, and we made a conscientious effort where like some people truly try to track shots on net, and we end up with like a 30 to 28 shots on net or something like that.
I mean, there's a lot of shots.
There's
a game.
there's a lot of shots, and I believe it.
Yeah.
After that, I'd have Hedges come over, like swing past like the penalty box, and be like, "Bro, I'm at least like I've been counting my shots. I'm at least like 20 past you right now." I'm like, we make jokes about the fucking players and the people in the scorekeeper's box needing to know what a shot is. We got to talk about our goalies knowing what a shot is, because we're going to end up with a situation, and I said it earlier, where we have our goalies being like, oh yeah, everything was a shot. Like fucking Whoop tripped over the blue line and the puck rolled in the fucking corner. Sounds like a shot to me, baby. Like, no, I need to actually have someone objectively doing this. We don't have that type of situation with the refs are doing
if a
it.
puck hits a post, that does not count as a shot.
No, it's not a shot.
I actually knew that, and even though I play hockey on average 3 times a week, I am probably one of the
You're hockey illiterate. Exactly. Yes.
I have probably some of the worst knowledge of like the NHL and anybody in this league, but I still know that.
It's taken 6 years, and Piercy's spitting out truth like it's nobody's business.
For the record, I've always gave that fact, so don't try to judge
All right,
me on that.
JP, you come in hot every night. I just saw this on. You're saying you're gonna go home after an MNL game and track the shots and count each shot off a GoPro.
No.
you're
Dave
not.
V's a fucking liar. Dave, I'm going to track all the shots. I'm going to make sure it happens.
Dave P, I love you, Dad. That's no.
So let's keep things rolling here. So far this preseason, outside of one game, which I would say there was the Tigers and the Americans in the 5-5 tie, scoring has been relatively low. Most preseasons in the past, scoring has been high as, defenses hasn't kind of like been getting their act together. People have kind of been going more free range. What do you think that says about this season? Is the competition better, games faster, defense better? Are we going to expect a higher scoring league or a lower scoring league this year?
My gut opinion is that I'm expecting a higher scoring league, but people are pussyfooting a lot right now. People are feeling each other out and building out chemistry. The Deeks are in a heavy chemistry situation, figuring out the right team that's going to work with that. Obviously dealing with subs. I think the Whalers are heavily in that situation because their team is heavily built on what can we build and put together that's based off of chemistry, especially when you have the Pesos and DPs in the room. I mean, like they're the noted group who's able to put shit together. But I think every team's in this scenario because there's so many subs. They want to figure out what's going on. I think you don't know until the actual season starts.
Yeah, I agree. Like preseason, like it's just hard for preseason. Everybody's trying to gel. Everybody's trying to get used to the league, trying to get used to their teammates. It's not, like I remember last year preseason was the exact same way. We had this exact same conversation. Obviously not on a podcast, but it was like, oh, everybody's, like I think I got a shutout against the Nordiques as a North Star the first preseason game last season. Like, and then look, I mean, it's a different. Once the actual season starts, it's a whole.
You bring up a great point where the Nordiques last season, not intending to try and bring this up, but the Nordiques won.
Yeah.
In the preseason, they got shut out, I believe, by the North Stars.
Yep.
And it was a close game, but they got shut out. And then it was the second game where it was
It's a blowout, wasn't it?
it was a blowout.
It's like the Whalers.
No, it was against the Seals. And
Somehow-
the Seals went
somehow
home
the-
like they
wasn't
were the
there.
fucking champions.
Somehow
because
the
Dave
Seals
P scored
played the
goals.
Nordiques really well all year last year, though.
Which-
I don't know
which
why
is
that
true.
chemistry worked like that.
Which is true, and I'm not going to disagree with that. But I'm saying in the preseason, it was the Nordiques who were sans Proctor. They were down a couple of guys that I think they had. We had 8 skaters. I had the volunteering that I did this past weekend. I had just did it last year, so I was absolutely dead. And then we had 8 skaters on top of that, and the Seals had like 9, maybe 10 guys. Had most of the roster. Dave P had one of those nights where he's a preseason warrior and scored like a hat trick.
I think it was Dave P and Shawnee show all night.
And they destroyed it. And like in the end, like the Seals played the Dekes well all season, but on paper, when people see just one game, they're like, "Oh, the Seals fucking put the fucking rivets to the Dekes." Like,
I
the
still
Seals are going to be good. And the
remember.
Dekes are gonna
I
have
still
issues.
remember wearing that chain the first. The first.
For the
game.
record, Dave P is a born scorer, and he's going to tear up the league this year. So I'm just saying that. But
He was born that way.
he was.
He's on the right track, baby. He
So,
was born that way.
Probably about 45 minutes in or so. So let's wrap this up with one last thing. I think it might take a little bit, but it's kind of too early, but we'll talk about it anyways. We'll go through each team and kind of like what's the make or break for each one of these teams of finishing first place or finishing last place. So we'll start with the Americans. I'm going to send it off to Drager.
For the Americans, I love this topic. For the Americans to be the MNL champions versus the MNL dumpster fire, hands down comes down to line 2. When you look at their lineups, they got line 1's most likely going to be the Pauls, Proctor, and Antioch with my boy Sammy Mackey once he comes back. Sammy Strong.
Hashtag.
Sammy Strong. And then you look at their defense, which is Edge, Powers, Manny, and Star, I believe.
It's a strong decor.
That's the best defensive core we've ever seen in MNL, in my opinion.
With
Name
offense.
Name a better one.
With offense.
Piercy's making that Piercy face. Name a better one.
I'm just thinking off the top of my head, I'm wondering if the Ducks are better right now.
I wouldn't
this
say.
year.
I would
But
disagree with that.
I also want to say,
disagree
just
with
for,
I
just for
played
the
behind him last night.
Just for the record,
I would say that. 100%.
Manny played forward last night, and
Correct.
there was a couple times where I'm trying to remember if he had different pants on or something was different, where it was like, who the heck is that guy? He looked pretty good at forward, where he looked more aggressive than he does at defense. I kind of liked him there, but I know when you're drafting your team and pieces got to fit together, he might have to go back and forward. But there was a couple people in the score booth who was like, who is that? And we were all shocked by the kind of the aggressive, nice play of Manny at forward.
And with missing the kind of players that they had, like they did some shifting, they did some adjustments. I think Manny kind of deep down wants to play forward, but he could be the worst player on the best defensive core you've ever seen. That's backstopped by John Floreno.
Yeah.
And
they got
it
Jay
has
Flo
the
in net.
support of Paul not cherry picking Proctor. You look at that team, I feel pretty comfortable. It all comes down to line 2 for them.
Who is line 2 for them?
Line 2 for the Americans is Dave Ciproni, centering Keith Wood and Alan Simonelli. All these guys are, I would define as being like or basically the same as Dave Sips. Knowing that Dave Sips is already one of those guys, like all of them, I'm just like, Wood, he's basically like he's the wing version of Sips. Like Simonelli, he's like basically like he's the wing version of Sips. Sips is basically the center version of Sips. Like, if those guys can keep their heads above water and they're going to be that sneaky guys who might like surprise you, they might be able to click, they might be able to gel, they might be able to survive with a strong defense behind them, a strong goalie behind them, and they're able to stay plus, I think they're winning. If they don't, I think they could be in trouble because you're going to turn around, you're going to look at somebody like, I'm going to put all of my, if those 3 fail, let's just put it out that way.
I mean,
You're putting everything on Proctor and Antioch.
is that what you did with the Nordiques?
Nordiques had,
I mean, you had Sugar.
they had Sugar, they had Proctor,
You had
and
a
they had
fallback
tertiary scoring,
True.
where we had Peso,
Yep.
and then you had
Q-Tip as
Q-Tip,
well.
who was able to try and make stuff happen.
I mean,
and
do
then
you think
Charles
the
scored a hat trick one
Americans-
time.
I mean,
Q-Tip's a pain in the ass to play against. He's kind of like a Skillman type. So let's face facts. Let's not cut him down. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like obviously, I feel like the Americans. They're one of my top. They're probably my second team on the board right now. So it's hard to put them down.
they will be probably the top 3 powerhouse. I'll state that right now.
I could Sips and Woods is going to be one of the things. They're either going to be best friends or they're going to be oil and vinegar. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm leaning towards best friends in a very weird, kind of crazy way.
No matter what it is, it's going to be fucking fun to watch. Those fucking two together, even if they start bickering on the ice, is going to be must-see TV.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
I relate it. This is kind of off topic. My one buddy, Seipke, he lives in England. Lives with his girlfriend. She was visiting her parents in another part of the country or whatever for like 3 weeks. And about 3 weeks ago, he's like, I bought an air fryer. Jane did not want me to, but I bought one. She told me not to, blah, blah, blah. Apparently she comes home today and he's like, she blew up when she saw it. This big story about how they got into a giant fight, everything like that. And she's like, I can't believe her. Who would have saw this coming? And like me and my other brother, Jeremy, were both like, yeah, we saw that coming. It was very obvious by the way you stated of like, fuck her. I wanted an air fryer. I'm buying it now, and I don't care what she thinks. And all of a sudden, blow up fight. That's how Sips and Woods could be.
I don't know how that's related to Sips and Wood, but unless you pretend they're like a married couple,
Percy, where were you
and
going
one
with
of
that?
them was British.
You made me think of fish and chips during that whole like spiel. Like I was like, wouldn't she like it? Be like, I like
The
it was
England
so
part-
off hockey topic. Where are we going with that?
The point is sometimes
It was a long stretch for a plug. but he
sometimes
did
you
it.
sometimes you can see a disaster coming a long ways away. Was my point.
That's fair.
Okay,
But that's the
all
thing.
right, all
These
right.
two could be made for each other. Like when I saw
Right.
Wood before I even saw him playing with Sips, I'm like, ooh, like it's how I felt. And obviously it didn't gel as well as I hoped. But when I saw season 2, when I'm like, maybe I can get Joey Ellis playing with Sips, like Sips weeble wobbling, Joey Ellis is scoring, like we can make this work.
I don't know. I
It
think
didn't
Woods,
gel as well as I hoped, but like I see that with Wood and Sips right now.
I think Woods will do well with Sips just from hanging out with Woods and just kind of getting to know him, having a couple beers. I think it's gonna be they kind of have that same demeanor.
Hooch is fucking crazy.
Hooch is crazy.
I mean, that's a fair. It's pretty
Fair
fair.
assessment.
That's pretty fair.
I love the guy.
Yeah.
He might be. I think Dougie Fresh is trying to push like top Slack rookie of the year.
Yeah, yeah.
I buy it.
I think
fucking
that's a.
love Woods.
Hold the phone right there.
It's a pretty weak class, to be fair.
Mr. Dcunn. I think that's a new award this year.
Yeah, it's got to be.
I think it has
Possibly. So let's move on. Tigers, Cam, plus and minuses of how they'll be first or last.
Offense wise, they have one guy really. It's gonna be a struggle for them. I really think it's gonna be an uphill battle all season. Not to be rude to the Tigers at all, but new league. I mean, I could be proven wrong. I mean, hockey's hockey. Something can go. D isn't as strong as I thought. I don't. They had a rough draft, and I think that might correlate. And after seeing them play the Americans, I know it was a tie, but they're going to be banking on Taylor a lot.
Taylor a lot. The big thing I think with me is I'm trying to remember his name. The second round pick, kind of that mystery guy.
Chris Taylor.
Wasn't he there? Or who was the third round pick then? Didn't they pick someone like super early?
Slocum.
Slocum.
They took Ben Slocum.
Yep.
Yeah, Slocum. I haven't
Chris
seen him
Taylor.
play.
You mean Matt Taylor's brother?
No,
the guy
I'm
you
sorry.
played multiple years of hockey with. That guy.
No, Slocum, I think, is like the mystery guy. No one knew about him. I heard he was more of a fourth, fifth kind of guy. All of a sudden, he goes super early to them.
But that's the thing. It
I
brings
don't
it,
know.
It brings it back to the whole topic is we got to always remember this is just preseason hockey.
Yeah.
This
But
could-
yeah,
I mean,
we haven't seen Slocum skate at all. He
But
hasn't
yeah,
skated
but
yet.
for
He hasn't skated?
Slocum,
All right.
it's like how could they be first or how could they be last? Like first, he comes out, he ends up being a steal of the draft. No one's seen him skate. He's awesome. That's how they could be first. I mean, last. I thought their team was better than I think you thought. So, injuries. I mean, I'm trying to remember. Their team didn't fit the greatest together in my opinion. So that could be trouble there. Ryan Allen at a defensive end could be,
Claw's opinion, they'll make the playoffs, but I think they'll go down in the first round.
And that's fair. I've played with and against Slocum on Wednesdays when the faux worms were playing that McCrackin put together. And excuse me. My opinion is I think Slocum being a third round is a safe play. He could find his way being like first round value. He could find his way being fifth round value, but that's not going to make or break their team. The thing that's going to make or break the Tigers is going to be Riley. Riley has had a bad rap for the last year.
Oh.
And we've seen Riley play to the fucking finals. He brought the Seals all the way there. And my opinion back then was like, Riley makes maybe one boneheaded mistake a game, but otherwise he's solid.
Yeah.
And if he can play a consistent, smart game, they're not like the concept of Riley being the worst goalie is not as strong anymore. And if you can say that, then you're saying like, what's the difference between them and basically Americans? The fact that people are subjectively saying their draft was worse, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but I don't necessarily agree with either.
Right.
When you say like they only have Matt Taylor, they have Slocum. Slocum's a guy who can score. Chris Taylor is a guy who can score from the point.
True.
You look at someone like Skillman. Skillman's a fucking pain in the ass to play against. As a person
And
who
he can break free.
Yes.
I've seen him play.
the person who's formed Ryan Allen as a defenseman, I feel pretty good that the guy can play defense. You like it. I know you watching. But I feel like that's not as bad. And they have a lot of people who can surprise you and score.
Sure.
Is it the team I would have personally built? No, I personally built a literally different team a month ago, and I opted to do that. However, is this team one that's bound to fail? Not at all. But for me, it's can they keep pucks out of the net considering the defense they have?
And the goaltender behind him.
Yes.
I
So
mean-
if that goaltender shows up and plays above and beyond where people are putting him at, they're going to surprise some people. Do I think they're going to get last place? No. Do I think they're fucking shooing for the keg? Not that either. I've seen plenty of teams that have had an amazing player. Look at somebody like Must Be Nice. They had Proctor.
Yep.
They had a team that you're like, oh, yeah, they should be able to make it. And they struggled a lot of the season.
Well, and then also bringing that up with Riley during the spring season, he I think it was kind of like a redemption for him because he actually played pretty decent during the spring season. But last year he had a really tough year.
It'll be interesting to see how good.
I think it was part of 3 blowouts.
How good Matt Taylor
as a mental thing. That's hard for a goalie. So
it'll be interesting to see how good Matt Taylor truly is. Is he, there's a Dougie Fresh who's like after the first game of like there was a few times where he's like he can grab the puck anytime he wants and scores. Like, is that true? I have a hard time believing it. Maybe it is though. I mean, he's played in some pretty high level leagues where if he does that, maybe he can dominate a game and win games for them.
And I've seen Matt Taylor play in those other leagues.
I have
and
too.
A handful
He scored
of us.
3 goals on me in like a B league.
Yeah, I've seen him play in D League and a C League level team, and he played
can
in
move.
our All-Star game. A lot of people didn't know that.
Yep.
He's in that game. I felt he was a little invisible, but I've seen him play a game where he took over and he spent 5 minutes on the ice, which is its own issue. But in that time, he was able to score 2 goals. So he's a true wild card, and we don't really know.
Yeah.
I'm also curious if it comes to someone that good, like, are things going to get over physical? Because, kind of like the replacement for stuff like that is to try to get in the way, body someone up, and things happening.
I think it's going to be different for every team. You might have a Star versus a Matt Taylor. I think there's going to be a little bit more finesse as a D. A Trent, let's say Trent plays D versus Matt Taylor, it's going to be a little bit more brute in the corner type of thing. So it's every team's going to have to adjust to the Matt Taylor style and just how the Tigers are playing in general. Are they gonna try to find Matt opening up spots? Are they gonna play a cherry pick style? Like, what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we don't know yet.
Yeah. Next team on the list would be the Ducks. My turn kind of starting out here. They're my pick as of right now for the last place team, but how they don't finish last, I think they have to, rely on that defensive core they have, keep games low. They have to have that top line put up a lot of goals, and they have to have that second line led by Turtle just they're not a goal scoring line. They have to think about defense. They have to try to get stuff out of the zone, and they have to try to keep things even. If they get a goal for a plus, it's a positive, but that second line, their goal is to be even on the night. To be first, they have to probably make a trade, a blockbuster trade there. I don't see this team being first. I think they could definitely be a playoff team. Goalie probably has to get hot there. I think it's kind of the unknown there of how you're coming back from knee surgery type thing, but it's going to be tough, I think, for them to be first. Sugar's going to have to go on a tear, and then Ben's going to have to find the fountain of youth.
So, for my opinion, when it comes to something like this, I feel confident, and I said it earlier, ryanZ is going to come back, and ryanZ is going to compete. He's going to be to the point where the Ducks, who were surprised to get ryanZ in their scenario, Dylan's the outright wild card. Mm-hmm. On paper, if you ask them during the preseason evaluation skates, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, we get Dylan, that's who we expect. The Seals take the flyer on Dylan with the high potential that he has to try and make something happen, and they get ryanZ, someone who they're really, really, really comfortable with. So I'm not worried about ryanZ, and I think they're probably going to feel comfortable with him coming back from injury because they had him coming back from injury.
Right.
Defense, I think they feel comfortable with. Line 2, they had a rough line 2 last year, and they were able to win the wild card game and put some rivets and try to give a little troubles to the North Stars. Desert Swarm
the Seals
did
had a
its
duck
business.
problem the whole year. So
Yeah.
And then definitely, Pete was a forerunner for that. So
Yeah.
But yeah, it comes down to that line too. It wasn't really much of anything.
Well, so that's what I'm trying to say. I'm disagreeing with that. I'm saying they've had that line 2 where they've had a little bit of an uphill battle with those guys, but they've been able to survive, and I think their line 2 this year
I think
will
Turtle
probably
Turtle
be better
will
than
kind of
that.
boost that.
Because Turtle's now playing the center.
Yep.
For me, the Ducks' success is based off of 100% line 1. I hold up 2, but I mean to say 1. And it's 2 players on it.
Cut them off.
It's Ben
How many
being
now?
able to gel well with Sugar,
Yeah.
and it's Busta being able to gel well with Sugar. As a person who's played with Sugar plenty of times, Sugar has his style of game. He is your star. And like it or not, one of the things you want to do is you want to try and build around your star. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to try and say, like, hey, Busta, I need you to be able to, drive the puck forward so Sugar can kind of, like, lax on it. No, Sugar's the type of guy who's going to try and drive and control play. He did that yesterday. Now, if Ben, who I feel pretty confident, is the kind of guy who will complement Sugar, Ben's very similar to Claude Hardy, Sugar's father. They both kind of played at the same level, both played for the Kazoo Wings, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Probably at different times. But, the type of guy that, Claude is versus what Ben is, not too far off.
Yeah.
I think Sugar has a little bit of experience with that, and I think he'll be able to gel with that very well, much better than you expect. Now, Busta, who has spent a season away from Sugar, I expect him to, I saw it once last night. Sugar sends a pass over to Busta, and everybody in the scorekeeper's box. The best example is Hal. Hal goes, oh, Busta, you have to skate. You have to get that puck. Mm-hmm. And he didn't. He kind of stood there. The puck went by. It was a stick length pass. If he took just that one step, he would have had it with a wide open net.
Yep.
If he's able to make that connection and be that backdoor presence to cause trouble for goalies that opens up the rest of the ice for Ben and for Sugar, I think they'll have success.
I agree. I mean,
Because I think Ben and Sugar are going to gel. Confident in that.
And
if Busta can complement that.
Realistically,
my boy
that-
wanted to talk. Let him talk.
One second. Realistically, that's the biggest defensive flaw I think in our league is how our centers play with their defensemen. If your center's playing in that kind of triangle that you should be with them, you're going to be able to cover that back door. But our centers usually roam a lot more than what they should, in my opinion, and that's going to leave that back door goal open for Busta all year. And if they can feast off that, that's a big key. Go back over to Cam.
yeah. So I will say this. With just some fun scrimmage drop-ins and some preseason, what I've seen with Sugar and Buster kind of like reconnecting a little bit, I've seen more connections on tape-to-tape passes with Busta just kind of just lighting it up. So, I mean, he scored on me game 1 preseason, made it, sexy goal, buddy. Good job. But I do agree with Penny. It's going to be what I think Ben will be the forerunner to get the play going, and then he's going to run it off to Sugar, and then from there on, it's going to be, can we find Bus open, or can we get Ben open, or can we even get a point option with Rubel? So, they got to work out their own style of play, but we'll see. Oh, thank you. Thank you, sweetheart.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next team on this list would be the Nordiques. We're not starting with the GM. We're going back around to Mr. Cam.
So I want to pause and say we've clearly been going in draft order. How did we go from the North Stars to the Nordiques, who drafted 7th overall? What changed?
As the person who makes the agenda, I think I was just trying to name off all the teams, and this was the order they came into my head. So it was nothing.
You were spot on in terms of draft order because it goes Americans, Tigers, Mighty Ducks, North Stars, followed by the Seals, the Whalers, and the Deeks. I know it's written on my goddamn dick. And so you were doing pretty well, and then you're just like the Nordiques. I'm like, wait, what?
Wait. I actually skipped the Seals. We're going to the Seals.
We're going to
Still
the Seals.
proving me wrong, but whatever.
But the Nordiques are next, so I still effed it up.
Hey, you two. Can we just get along? We have a podcast to do, please.
Keep going.
All right, thank you. Seals. I think they're going to have a very... I'm taking over on this one. From being a previous Seal, you definitely got Shawnee. Their O-line looks sweet. They got... I've seen Dylan play maybe 3 or 4 times now. He's a good goalie. He knows how to play the puck. He's definitely going to... I will give you a warning, Dylan. You're going to have to stand on your head all the time. No offense, Whoop Auto. But that's just kind of how the Seal mentality is. They put all their weight up front and then kind of leave it loose on the back. And that's just the Seal style play. That's always how it's been, from what I hear.
Yeah. From the way that I kind of view it, my big thing right now, the Seals, the way I viewed it, they basically drafted a team similar to last year. We kind of described it's a lot of similarities, but they drafted a team with the expectation that Pellet plays defense. Surprise, he doesn't. He's doing really well as a forward, and he's probably one of the bigger steals of the draft so far. Yep. I feel really comfortable with him. Still preseason. I still want to see how it goes into the actual regular season. However, in that change, they had to make a decision of if we're playing Pellet at forward, who's going to play defense, and they made a decision that it's going to be ryanZ. And I like ryanZ. My personal opinion, I think ryanZ is a forward. I think he has one of the sneakier shots. I think a lot of people put a lot of onus on him to carry the puck and try to drive play, which is where I feel his miscomings of the last year and a half has kind of come from. But I think ryanZ, when I see him play in the right situations, is one of the most threatening people on the ice at times, especially as a Bender caliber player. My opinion is what is the difference maker for him or for them is him in the experiment at defense, and can it actually pan out, and can he be a true confident defenseman from back there?
Yeah, that ryanZ at defense, I just don't see it as of right now. Pellet, looking at him game 2 this week, seemed like a big step down from game 1. He looked human. Not saying he's a bad pick, but he looked closer to where he got drafted.
Okay.
So I think the jury.
They do have the option of Chris floating back and forth. Chris is an all-around player.
Yeah,
too.
the jury's still out there. I think the wild cards for the Seals.
You got Mashanik back there.
Are obviously McCrackin. Is he going to show up? Can he give you his 3 or 4 high-level shifts and score goals? If he can do that, that's going to be a big boost. I think the other big thing is Pfister. We're hearing from Hedis. I think he's a first-round guy. They get him in the second round. You see a lot of flashes from him. You see him disappear at other times. If he can be that first-round talent for them, it's going to be huge. We all know Shawnee's a very good player. Shawnee has his times where he's coming at you as a defenseman. He's got power. He's got speed. You don't want to deal with that. But there's other times he has 5 breakaways in a game, and he gets stoned on every one of them. Yep. He can score 5 goals in a game, or he won't score a goal for 3 games.
That's true.
He's very hit or miss there. And that's one of the biggest problems that plagued the Seals last year.
Love you, Shawnee.
And possibly could plague the Seals this year is He's very inconsistent with his scoring.
So that's one of the big things kind of coming out of that is Feaster is very east-west. And I was talking about this with maybe it was Hedis, it was somebody. I was like, he's fast. And they're like, no, he's not fast. He doesn't have top-end speed. I'm like, I'm not saying that. This is the old Mario Kart adage. Like, he's like the kind of guy who's able to go east-west really quickly. He's able to cause a lot of troubles. And somebody's just, I forget who it was. They're like, I described him as a rich man's Dave P. And I was like, that's funny. I described him as a poor man's Sugar. But he's kind of in that same type of thing where he's going to go east-west. He's going to cause a little bit of troubles for you and your team.
Yes.
And he's got some pretty good hands to cause some trouble when he does that. However, he doesn't have that strong northwest speed. The benefit is that they have Shawnee, who is probably one of the fastest northwest skaters that we have in the league.
Very well off each other.
Yes.
Like that's going to be the combo. That's going to be if they connect and have that chemistry, that's going to be a deadly combo for the Seals.
They don't have to play together to do that. They could play on separate lines, and they can completely change the pace of the game.
I would agree.
Between those two lines, where north-south Shawnee makes it so we're bursting down the ice, and then we go to east-west Feaster, and then your goalie is fucking going back and forth trying to deal with it. It can cause troubles.
Yeah, it can. I agree.
And then how the Seals could finish last, to me, it all rests on Whoop. You know, we've all seen
Everything
Whoop.
rests on Whoop.
You know,
No pressure, buddy.
Whoop's got a pretty good hockey mind. He's actually pretty skilled when it comes to hockey. He's got more skill than I do. But he's slow. He's lazy. And I've seen a lot of breakaways on the 2 weeks from the Seals. If Dylan isn't stepping up like he has been and saving every one of those, they're going to give up a lot of goals.
It's just like last year, man. That's how we lost our games, where we slip up a puck on Whoop falling, or like sometimes like Brennan would give up a puck. That is, I believe, last year the reason we did not do so well as a Seal team is all the odd man turnovers.
Yeah, and Shepard, he was drafted as a forward. All of a sudden, we have to stick him back at defense with Whoop. Right. Everybody loves Whoop. We want to see him out there. We want to see him as Worm. We want to see him playing all the time.
Yeah.
But,
jeez,
I don't know what that was.
That was my phone. My apologies, guys. Sorry.
No problem. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I mean, I'm a low-level talent. He's a low-level talent. We all just got to deal with it, try to get better. And he's got McCrackin back there, and maybe that's the perfect combination that we've heard about is Whoop likes to stand there and point and yell about where to go, and McCrackin likes to skate all over hell and grab the puck and go with it. Maybe it's perfect. Who knows?
I think Troy said it best probably 25 times now. He reiterated it yesterday. Like, those two are a match made in heaven. Yeah. And it's something that I'm like, I never thought I'd see it. McCrackin, like, a lot of people act like McCrackin's the fucking dolt on the ice. He's smarter than that, but McCrackin knows who he's playing with.
Right.
And he's able to react to it and make the right moves for it.
He adapts very well.
He adapts very well. And so when he plays with me, he does a similar thing. I have a little bit more agency in terms of what I do compared to Whoop, but like he knows, hey, this is the type of player I'm playing with, and he's not going to pull the turtle of the bin and be like, no, baby, that's you. You go get that. He's like, fuck that. Like, I'm looking to try and win. I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to go and reach that puck because I know you're not going to get there in time.
And that's the one thing about McCrackin is he wins. He fights for puck battles.
Yes. And Whoop doesn't. He tells people to go do it, and that's why they complement very, very well.
Exactly.
They're the extremes of that scenario.
Yep.
Next team on our list, coming to me to start, would be the Nordiques.
Finally.
So week one, I subbed for the Nordiques. They had two subs, seemed fairly even on those subs.
One major sub up to Brian Reginald Piercy. It's actually Matthew, but like Brian Reginald Piercy.
I just learned something new right there. Thank you.
Yeah, Brian Matthew Piercy.
Got some more weaponry from my arsenal.
Is it kind of scary he knows my middle name?
Huh?
Is it kind of scary that he knows my middle name?
I mean, he knows a lot of things.
Yeah, I know. You'd be surprised how many MNLers' middle names I know. So let's not even start
what's
there.
my middle name?
I don't know.
So either way, this was a team I did not like going into after the draft. I felt like they made the mistake of drafting too many defensemen in the middle of the way. I thought if they would have drafted one more forward and cut out one defenseman in that, it would have gave them a lot more room because I think they have a couple benders at the end that could possibly hurt them a lot. But the first game I played with them, I thought they actually played well. I thought the whole Geo Fem combo, and then what was the other one? It was Kimmel and
Pistol.
I thought those seemed like they worked well together there. So
Kimmel's a great player.
I think to me, I think the thing that could hurt them as being a last place team would be their defense. They have a lot of middle guys, but like you have a Sawokis kind of as that main guy. You have a Doug as those main guys. None of their defensemen scare you is a bad word, but like is a guy like, oh, he's going to stop them. They have a lot of those guys where if you get those right guys, those speed guys are going to go around those guys and they're going to score. I feel like it was kind of like the Seals last year. There was a few different times where we played the Nordiques well consistently, and it was almost like our forwards, Darren and Shawnee, knew how to beat those guys where they'd kind of go right at them, go by them, and beat them and burn them. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity to do the same thing. At the same time, they're middle-of-the-road guys. They can get the job done. Maybe not the prettiest of moving the puck on the offensive zone type of things, but those forwards did gel a lot better than I thought they would, so it could be a very good thing there. And I don't see this team as possibly contending for a keg, but I think they're better than I thought they were.
Rebuttal. I'm just kidding. I'm going to have to disagree with you on the defensive stand. I think Coan, as a goaltender, has stacked up his game.
I didn't talk about Coan at all. I talked about the defenseman.
Well, I mean,
they're one in the same. He's the key defenseman if you view it the right way.
I mean, and that's kind of how the Seals drafted last year. I mean, we didn't have the greatest defense, but we put a backstop in net to kind of make up for
net, baby.
we put a. No, I'm just trying to be humble about it. You put a good goalie behind. You kind of try to equal out that median. And I think that's what they just, with how the draft results came about, that's what they had to do. I think Coan has stepped up his game as a goaltender tremendously. I wouldn't say I want to count the Deeks yet. They have a lot to prove coming off a Stanley Keg. It's going to be interesting. I think the Nordiques are probably going to sit up in the top 4. And it really just depends on how every team reacts to them. I think the Pistol was a good pickup. Kimmel was a good pickup. Like, those guys, a little bit older. Pistol can move. I mean, it's hard to shut Pistol down when he gets angry or he wants to score. D-wise, I mean, who's your top D-liner now?
Defensive crew is myself, Brennan, Suokis, and Milson. Dougie Fresh.
Dougie E. Let's see here. I know. I
like I said, it's all solid, but nothing that scares you. So you can get around them, but they're solid.
And that's a fair point. Is that when you look at the team, we don't have a Proctor, we don't have a Sugar, we don't have a Matt Taylor.
First of all, Pistol could be the 4th best guy in the league. So,
and I don't disagree with that. However, I'm just saying.
I think Kimmel's climbing the ranks on that though. I will say that. Like he might be your second scorer of the year. Like I almost guarantee
and that's the thing. He's one of the better scorers in the year. That when we talk about top scorers, our top shooters, which the Labatt Blue Party Deck talked about that last night. Mm-hmm. Kimmel wasn't mentioned in terms of like best shot, best scorer, anything like that, and he was gleamed over compared to the
he throws a
Pesos,
puck on
the
net
Proctors,
though, and
a lot
creates
of people.
opportunity.
Correct.
The reason we lost against the Whalers in playoffs last year is because Kimmel threw a bad angle shot off my helmet and it went in. Like he will fight for a puck and he'll just throw pucks on net.
Kimmel's a guy I feel like I know him well. We played together on the Whalers year 2.
Yep.
I felt like the way that team ended up being constructed, he was kind of put on an island by himself to try to score goals. This spring as a GM, I felt like I knew his game, and I drafted a team to kind of set him up. I had, Shawnee, I had J-Flo, and I had him together. And near the end of the season, before he hurt his foot, he was a top 5 scorer in the league. And I feel like that was part of how I built that line. Kimmel is a guy, great shot. He has good bursts, but they're just bursts. He has crap cardio. No offense to him. He needs people that can feed him the puck. He can't do it himself. But if you put him with a guy that's going to set him up, he's going to score a lot of goals.
Regardless if you think he has crap cardio.
Everybody has their weakness. I'm not trying to-
Everyone has a weakness. I get it. I'm just saying, regardless of whatever weakness you think he has, one of the benefits that Kimmel has in this scenario is we have 2 top-end speed guys in the league when you think of pistol, when you think of fem. And maybe I'm getting a little soapboxy, but we have those 2 guys. And then we have Gio, who's riding a fucking 100 kilometers on his fucking bike every day.
And you got to remember,
because he's a fucking monster.
And you also got to remember, the Frontiacs, like Pistol and Fem were on effing real. Like the chemistry, they just connected, and they looked like they had played together for like 4 seasons.
So, if you want my opinion of the biggest weakness for the Deeks, opening up the playbook, letting you see what's inside. The biggest issue we probably
GMs,
have
pull out your notebooks.
is their GM being a fucking idiot and being like, we have 4 core guys at forward, we have our 4 guys at defense, and then we have 2 late round benders in both Drago and Wright that I feel comfortable with no matter what lineups we put, that they're 2 good, confident skaters that we're able to fill them in. Mm-hmm. But it's that top 4 and that back 4 of like, how do we kind of put them together? It's all chemistry. And if we don't put together the right crew and we're just like, yo, man, I'm gonna put up the whole situation and Kimmel's playing center. You talk to Kimmel, he's like, I'm not a center. I'm like, no, but in this situation, I need you to play center to make this work. We're going to fail. We're going to have issues.
Yeah,
so
like I said,
if we put together the right lineup, we'll be able to succeed.
My biggest thing during the draft is the video's gone. I think I was talking to a couple people. I like the team. I just thought if you would have skipped one of those mid-level defensive guys, probably Sawokis, and drafted a forward there, it would have made things a lot nicer for the team, and I thought it would have fit together because I think there are, you have your Weavers. I think I got overdrafted, so I probably wouldn't have been in that realm, but
Definitely did.
hey, I'm realistic. I know how it goes, but there's a couple quality defensive guys that are a little bit later rounds. You guys could have got there to flip that in there, just how I would have saw it. But
defensive strategy for us is definitely make me as much of the worst defenseman as we can on the team. If we can say like, hey, we have a lot of people who are better than us, and I feel more comfortable with like the people that we're able to put in front of Coan and the lineups that we have, I feel relatively good. And we have a handful of really strong defensive-minded forwards in our crew. But like that's one of the things that we try to build around.
Right. Well, and Coan was a help with the draft. Like he kind of set up his D for himself, which as a goalie,
more than you'd think. Very much.
Which
so.
is. Fuck yeah!
Which
yeah,
is
Coan.
which
like,
is
that's awesome. Like,
I
wish I had the power to do that type.
Just
of thing,
to draw it out, there's some interesting stuff because I think when you look at the draft, I think there's a lot of GMs or a lot of people in general who don't think that you guys made the right decisions as those defensemen. But also, if I was a GM and I have my goalie, I don't blame you for supporting your goalie to pick who you wanted to pick. So the next team on the list is going to be the North Stars. I'm going to let Cam start out with that one.
Oh, it's a bittersweet to talk about the North Stars, man. Honestly, I will say last night, as playing as a Duck, I wasn't too thoroughly impressed. Hedis always plays solid. I've never really seen him. He doesn't slip up too often. He's kind of like me. He'll let a softie in here and there. I don't think they have the firepower as they did last year. They don't have Gio. And they put what? Edge was their like first line center. So, Troy did bring
Judge.
Was it Judge? I'm sorry. Yeah, Judge. You're right. My bad. I'm still learning all the new guys. So my apologies. Pretty equal game. I think they have a lot of learning and chemistry to do. I think their offense has potential. But it's going to bringing in the new guys on a draft. Troy, I'm not trying to talk smack or anything, but it was a very risky move in a draft. To
the North Stars' defense, I think they subbed down with Rattler for Cunningham.
Fair.
Now I'm biased because Cunningham's family.
Well, yeah.
And
he's an old teammate too. So.
I thought they did outplay the Ducks there, but when it comes down to make or break, I think Suits is going to be their make.
Yep. I agree.
You're drafting Suits at, I think it was 4.
Yeah.
You had Pete. You had some other guys there available. And you're kind of drafting this guy. I know Hedis was farther down on him than I think I was and what Troy was, where you saw him. I thought he had a nice glide to him. Some people said he was a little bit selfish. When we played them, or I think it was when I was playing for the Deeks, played against him. Maybe it wasn't. I don't remember. We play them next week, so it must have been one of the Deeks. It was like, saw him play. It was like he doesn't have. Or no, it was the Sunday skate he played. Didn't seem like he had much of a shot, but then all of a sudden, like a 5-minute span, he pulled out some really nice shots. So he's got that. So I think it's gutsy by Troy to draft Suits in the first round when you've seen the guy skate once. It's kind of hard to call there. I think the break there. Are you really going to keep Troy and Ty together as defensemen?
I think yes.
I don't think you can do that. Troy, he's a pretty good player. Like, give him his credit.
When are you going to move him to second line?
I just don't think. I think you got to split those two up. I think Ty, like those two, either have to go to separate separate lines. I don't think they can be together as a line. I think Troy, he scores more goals than he probably should. He's got a decent shot, but in his head, he thinks he's probably the number one defensive, offensive player in the league. So he's trying to push up. He's trying to go there, and Ty doesn't know to move into the middle. Ty's slow. He's going to get burned on breakaways all day, and that's going to cost them goal after goal after goal. Thoughts?
So we're going to talk a lot all season about, like, will Suits show up for... We saw him skate once, and then we drafted him. Is he going to be able to show up and be able to play at that level?
Right.
We'll see. That's obviously a given in terms of, like, concern. He obviously... he played...
What is their projected second line? Like, I mean...
their projected second line, if you're looking at like a Suits Judge on line 1 with maybe like a Crunk, I'm going to guess. Obviously, we haven't seen the full team. But if you're saying you're going to have Maff, Troy, and Ty as it's allegedly projected for line 2.
I will say...
And Marvin, with defense, and then Marvin back there on defense, I'm thinking... Like, I have no clue who that line 2 is.
I felt more point pressure with them last night than I did, like, cycling down low. I think what their style of play might be this year is we got some defensive men who can shoot, and then we got some, people who can catch the puck and maybe get a bad rebound. Yep. I really think that's what their game plan and what kind of Troy might be going for. I could be wrong. I might be hearing it on Slack the next day, but I felt more point pressure. Marvin can shoot. I played with Marvin. He's a great guy. Mm-hmm. Their defensive pressure. Troy had 2 posts. He can get open in the mix.
That was after he switched to forward, though. At least the one that I saw, it was after he switched to forward.
Yeah, I think one of them might have been at defense. I'm not sure.
It was at defense. He got an open pass and just kind of cranked it and went post. So
I know with speaking with Troy today, each period they were changing up things.
Yeah, that's the hard part about all this conversation right
preseason,
now.
It's very hard. Give them credit.
It can switch in 2 weeks, and then we're gonna be like, all right, whatever we just said, and
it will, and that's half the fun of what we're doing.
Exactly.
It's smart to try different lineups during the preseason. I know, according to Troy, this coming Monday against the Whalers, they're gonna pull out the true star line and see what happens in the first period of the game. So I told him, bring it. We're not scared of your bitch ass. And then he said, oh, I thought we were playing the Deeks. So
I don't know what that changes anything, but sure.
He was giving away secrets during preseason. Oh no.
Yeah, I know.
I think he's a little scared of the Whalers. Just a little on the side note. I think Troy's a little scared of the Whalers.
I agree. I think a lot of people are scared of the Whalers because the Whalers have the most enigma. That enigma, if it works out, is going to make them really good. If it doesn't work out, they're going to be middle of the pack. Before we jump away, I never finished my opinion. I want to say that really quick.
Yep.
So we were going to say, does Suit show up, quote unquote, is like the big thing. And we kind of talked a little bit about Troy and Ty being able to like gel as defensive partners. I I have a lot more faith in the North, surprisingly, a lot more faith in the North Stars
Big leap.
management to be able to, adjust on the fly of a season to be able to say, Troy and Ty, it doesn't work out because it won't. And they're going to make a change to make that work. My question is, they have the most new guys with, I believe, 5.
Yes.
All 5 of those guys, I believe, are like forwards.
Yeah.
And so they have Sikorsky. We're looking at Suits. We're looking at, what's his fucking face? We're looking at... I forgot.
Cunningham?
Doesn't matter.
I need like a
Not
roster.
Cunningham.
I need next time I'm gonna come.
Yeah, I
here,
know.
I'm gonna print
I haven't
out,
gotten to the point where I
rosters here.
remember the fucking roster.
Same here.
already. But
It's new guys.
They have
That's the
5
thing.
new guys on the team,
That's the thing.
if I believe correctly. And that's going to be the biggest thing is, are these 5 guys going to be the Vertrecht, the Walsh, the Brandt, that kind of put together that 2017 North Stars that, in my opinion, arguably better than the 2018 North Stars. And we're able to, hit hard and just didn't really ended up underachieving, but had so much more potential and could have made it if they just didn't fall in that one playoff series. Could have ended up winning the gag. So my opinion is, can the new guys that we have lined up make a difference? Judge, Sikorsky, Suits, all these guys, can they kick ass? Crunk, sorry, I forgot that Crunk is technically new to some people because he wasn't here last season.
Every time I see Crunk, he always gives me a little
He's new.
I mean,
But
He's got an
been
emoji.
what?
How old could he be?
that emoji is new. Say what you want, but he just made that.
Well, he came in
I
like
made it.
halfway through last season. Like he's
He played
Season
season
2.
2.
Ah,
Somehow he got injured. Let's not go into the details.
All right.
Somehow
Drager
Strip
took him
clubs are a
out.
bad thing.
Dirty
I get it.
play.
I'm just kidding.
our blades.
Oh, was
our-
it you?
Our blades touched tips.
Oh wow.
And he went down, and
wow.
he unfortunately acquired deep vein thrombosis.
wow.
They played swords together.
Tummy sticks. And he went to the doctor, and they're just like, hey, you can't play. So he ended up losing a season because of it.
How do you feel about that, Jeremy?
I feel heartbroken, but that's not the only North Star I took down this season. So sorry, Vertrecht.
You're kind of a thug.
I'm basically the house of the Nordiques, let's be honest.
So, last team on our list is going to be the Whalers.
Two in
Since
the
we have
house
2
right
Whalers
now.
in the house.
I'll let you lead it off.
No, we're going to let Drager start with that one.
Oh, okay. Go
Neutral
ahead.
party.
Go ahead, buddy. Lead it
So
off.
I alluded to this earlier. Serta, and I love Trent. Serta's like that brains behind the operation. If you've ever met Serta, homeboy drives a Maserati, talks about hostile takeovers of companies, and I jest with that, but he's the guy who's the guy that a lot of companies bring in to try and help set a direction, to set up like an IPO or a purchase or something like that. He's
Smart
a
guy. Very
smart
smart guy.
guy. And he's been, this past season, he was the kind of brains behind the Whalers operation. And I think they drafted, and this is my opinion coming in now, I think they drafted a Serta team last season. And this season, I think they drafted a Trent team. Not that Serta wasn't on board, but I think they drafted a bit more of a Trent team than Serta might have expected or might have wanted. And that's looking at Dave P., that's looking at Peso, that's looking at Cam, a lot of players, Piercy, a lot of players who have played for the Worms, a lot of players that Trent is used to and comfortable with. And it all boils down to 2 players. And I already mentioned their names, Peso and Dave P. Those 2, they were on the Nordiques together. Dave P was basically like, bro, just give me Peso. We'll fucking destroy it. We'll make shit happen. We'll cause ruckus. We'll score goals. And like, all right, man, I guess I'll trade for Peso. And like, trade for Peso. And I've won a keg with Peso since then. I have high faith in Peso and what he can do. He was on my draft list, and we were 1 pick away from getting him. However, when it comes to the idea of like Dave P and Peso, I have a lot of faith in Peso. Dave P and Peso is a different story. Can those 2 gel like they do on Friday nights? Because they talk about like, oh, Peso, Shawnee, Dave P, we're unstoppable. We're the best line. If those 2 can gel, especially without Shawnee, I'll feel confident, especially with Serta in that locker room.
The
'cause that's
funny
a big
thing
difference.
is
They're on different lines.
they're on different lines as of right now.
I know.
And I think we keep it that way because I think it brings a more agile edge to it.
We'll see.
I think and like I mean, you can foul with me if you want. I think our chemistry in the locker room, sweet. We've played WBW all together for what, going on 2 years now. So it's.
So when I say like, hey, those two together, I'm not just talking about on the same line. I'm talking about those guys in the same locker room, because I've seen those guys in many different scenarios all together. You've seen it at Mackey's bachelor party. Those two together can cause some ruckus in a good way or in a negative way. So I think I feel confident because I think those guys are both two really good players.
I think David's eager this year. Peso has the cup, so he knows what needs to be expected of him. I'm thirsty just as much as JP is.
So thirsty.
So,
no, I mean,
as a cup winner, I don't have anything to prove. But just to answer a couple questions
did you
here,
just drop a
Man,
cup?
I'm a cup winner.
I'm a cup
He's
winner.
such a
I'm-
fucking chotch right now.
Wow.
Fuck him.
you know, as the trusted voice of the league. But yeah, back to the question: how do the Whalers get first place in MNL?
Go ahead.
It's a second line. When you look at it, you have Trent, you have Serta, you have DP, and you have Peso. You know there's going to be 2 and 2. I think everybody liked Ite going into there. Still kind of a wild card, but I think if you say he's going on the first line,
I mean, 2
and-
goals his first game, bud.
well, that was what, Venandi?
Yeah, Venandi.
But yeah, so
I mean,
2
that's
goals there.
also, I mean,
So I think there's
He's
going to
also a
be.
component.
So if you look at each line, I think we have 2 number 1 lines.
I don't disagree. And that kind of comes to what I was saying before you jump back. What I was saying kind of with the Deeks, obviously, it's my team, so I have some insight. But in talking with Serta, right after the draft, he says, you guys had the same mindset as us. I'm like, oh, yeah, of course we did. You know, thanks, bud. But, like, in retrospect, kind of looking back at it, strong top 4 with a back end of, or like not necessarily back end, but like the back end of the draft. Let's pick up 2 guys who are going to play on our right wing together. They're going to be on separate lines. We have Drago on right. You guys have Ite and Venandi. And like Ite's the type of guy that like I feel like the Americans were talking about taking him really early. And
They were talking about taking him like 4th round, going into like 3 or probably under a week before the draft.
Yeah, and they made the right choice in not waiting that long. And I was surprised that they waited as long as they did, because if they had taken him with the pick that they had before the Whalers, maybe the 2nd pick they had before the Whalers took him, maybe the 3rd pick, I'm like, all right, you're getting a pretty good player at a pretty good time. The Whalers got Ite as a steal, in my opinion, and that's going to be huge. And so with the Whalers situation that Brian's talking about of like Dave P and Peso, we talk about those guys being together. If you separate them still, you still have Trent, you have Serta, 2 players I feel comfortable with, no matter how you
I was gonna say
build those guys out.
No matter how many like times you switch that first and second
Yeah.
line, it's still a power line.
I think these 2 teams are closer. The Whalers and the Deeks are closer in similarity than you think.
Yeah.
In terms of how they're built, in terms of we fought with players at the fucking turn constantly throughout the draft. They're built a similar way, and I think in the situation of you have a player like Ite, I feel really comfortable with what you guys have moving forward, where you're able to say, hey, this guy's able to contribute on a line 1 better than you'd expect if I have like Dave P and Serta playing together, or Dave P and Trent playing together.
And to me, I've said this for years, Turnbull is one of the most underrated defensemen. It seems like there's been drama, kitty hockey, whatever. I don't know.
Say that about
Nothing has
Lupudre.
anything to do with Gibb. It's Pistol and Turnbull.
I didn't say. Did I
Gibb's
say
in it.
Gibb?
It sounded like you said Gibby hockey.
No, I said kitty hockey.
Oh, God. Stop saying the word kitty. That's really gross.
I said kitty hockey. Whatever. Kid, youth, whatever you want to say hockey. There's been drama.
Youth hockey is the technical term.
There's been drama amongst the parents because they all think their kids
Goes
are
back to what we were
superstars when
talking
they're
about
all, you know, you think your kid's a superstar, you think they're the best, and they're all gonna be like lucky if they make the high school team, big effing deal. They're gonna be going to college and not playing any sports, whatever. But besides that, I feel like he's an underrated guy. I feel like he's actually, I like Turnbull, super cool guy. Everything great. He's a good hockey player. You look at him and Weaver. Me and Lupudre, we've been able to play a couple games together before the season started with the K-Felks. I feel like our defense, We're not the top defense in the league, but we're solid as far as we're going to help keep pucks out of the net. I got to get better with my breakout passes, but if I can start working on
Doesn't
that.
every defenseman. Doesn't every defenseman. But to what you're saying, like, that's why I'm saying, like, these two teams are built very similarly. They're not far off. Everybody loves Turnbull. I think throw out the fact that, Pistol and Turnbull have drama or whatever it is. It's probably long gone by now. But
do they?
Oh, yeah. Bruce talks about it all the time. He talks about it with his kitty hockey. However, if you throw that out the window, most guys like Turnbull. Turnbull is a guy who, over the last year on the North Stars, dropped a couple LBs. Looks pretty slim. Probably set up a fucking Tinder profile. Probably trying to scoop up some ladies.
I can confirm. I was talking to Turnbull, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've set up a Tinder profile.
There you
I
go.
don't give a shit what they
Wow.
look like. I swipe right for everything, and then if we match, then I decide."
That's the Sammy Mackey strategy before he met his wife. Just cast a wide net and let them all come in.
I think he picked up a peso dictionary on how to swipe left or right.
Peso school for kids who can't Tinder well.
But either way, I think our defense is solid. I've been working on my game, trying to work on my shape that's there. We got the best goalie in the league.
Aw. Aw.
So even when I give Cam a couple concussions, he'll be able to survive.
You've only snapped a stick on my head a couple times, a knee to the forehead. I mean, even Coan is really... Coan literally knocked me out. That's scary.
That was scary.
That was very scary.
But back to Piercy, cue that fucking Thomas Vokoun gif where he fucking takes the stick and...
Oh, it hurt. It hurt, dude.
Yeah.
It hurt.
Yeah,
That's love, man. You're still a teammate. That's love.
He can survive, but
Thank you hey, father, shout out to my dad. Thank you for the $14 Warwick helmet that you bought me, because if not, I would probably be in the hospital thanks to your host right here.
But yeah, back to the point. The way that the Whalers finish first is our second line, because we have two lines. I'll stack either one of those lines against any team, and we're going to play even, or we're going to play better than. Our defense is solid. I'm going to give this to Drager. How do the Whalers finish last?
I don't think they do. I think the Whalers and the Americans are the two teams where I'm like, there's no way in hell you finish last. And I say that with the idea of, like, the Whalers, they have Serta in the front office. He's not going to fall for something stupid.
Nope.
The Americans, they have that bad rep. People don't like him for that trade last year. As a person who is on the Must Be Nice team, I understand why sometimes you just gotta fucking make a move to try and make your
when
team
you're
better.
when you're in the bottom two, what are you gonna do?
You got to do something to make your team better.
Exactly.
The Americans did that last year, and they got the bad rap of like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. Sometimes you have to make a change to try and make something happen. The Americans are in such the driver's seat, in my opinion, where I think they're hands down a top 3 team as an idle situation. Like, yeah, we just kind of play our game, and they're like, they drafted a good team. They got drafted a good hand on top of that.
I might call this right now. I think we might have a Whaler American rival this year. I think that might be the forefront of the MNL right here.
And just a little foreshadowing. I'm trying to push the topic of like best MNL rivalries on the podcast.
Yes.
To kind of talk about
Yes.
this, because I think I have 2.
I think there's starting
I
to
wanna
become
try
some
and push.
friction in between some teams. Now
I
in the
mean,
last
there
2
there is
seasons
me
being
and
here.
Proctor where I dominate him every week, but outside of that, who is there? I don't know.
Oh my God. Me and Proctor are going to talk about it in the number 22 room tonight. Piercy's are trash. Fuck all of them. However,
This room is getting very. I can cut with the knife
Tension
right
with
now.
a knife.
Oh, it's intense.
so throwing all that out of the window and going back to the actual topic we're talking
Yeah.
about, I think that the Americans are like, a lot of people act like their GMs are fucking in idle. They're not. I think they know what they're doing. If they don't make the mistakes that you kind of, for some reason, people expect them to do, I think they're going to look at the top 3. I think the Whalers are in the exact same situation where I think the Whalers, if they don't make a change, they're instant top 3. And so I think every other team in the league, the other 5 are all fighting for that other top 3 spot. And that could be 1 through 3, because maybe Matt Taylor surprises us and he's like, oh, he's great, or like the Deeks do well, or the North Star strategy does well, or whatever. But I think those 2, as of right now, our top 3, and everyone's fighting to kind of be in that same category to try and fight for that bye week spot. Because I think one of them's getting it. I think honestly, just finishing up, I think the Whalers are an amazing team, and I think they have a lot of potential. Other teams have to fight for that spot.
I will say, I wanted to bring up a point tonight, and I wanted to see how you guys feel about it. Do you think, I mean, how is it really rolling like with the schedule? I mean, do you think a team will hit a hot streak, and then the bye week might just not playing that week might throw some things off? Like, will that cause some confliction? Like, will the Americans get on a roll, win 4 in a row, and then a bye week happens, and then everything just goes to shit?
You guys want to hear an anecdote? I think it was October 26th, I want to say. The Seals came in. They played the Nordiques last season, and they beat us 6-3, I want to say was the final. Shawnee had a phenomenal game. I think Dave P. had a pretty good game, and Skillman kind of probably got the one goal that rounded out that 6 goals. The coach's speech that night was like, we're not done, not another game, nothing. We went on, I think, to tie or just one shy of basically the North Stars record for most wins in a row.
Okay.
In between that time was a 2-week break.
Yep.
So I say this with the idea that the Dekes Dekes of last season and the Dekes of now are not perfect. However, momentum from October carried all the way over to basically, January.
I mean, you guys are
February.
hot in the season.
We were hot, and in there was a 2-week break.
Yep.
And so, I think my opinion personally is this bye, and obviously I have opinions about the bye. I think the bye is going to be an opportunity for people to get healthy, people to regroup. I think a lot of the players who feel like they want to play, and there's players out there like, yeah, I'll take the break and I'll rest up and I'll hang out with the wife, and that's no big deal.
Yeah.
Troy tonight, for example. But there's plenty of players out there like the Pesos of the world who's just like, fuck that. Like, I want to skate. It's my Mondays. I'm gonna let's fucking go. Like,
Let's go, boys.
They're going to show up and they're going to skate because they're probably going to get the call up, or they're going to find an
We're
opportunity
going to get
to skate.
subs. We're going to figure out something.
And I'm not worried about them going stale. I'm not worried about chemistry going stale over a week break. And the guys who are...
I wouldn't say chemistry. I would say momentum.
So momentum, even still, it's not like the league's going to be like, oh, I forgot about who the fucking... Like, let's say it's like the Ducks. Like, I forgot who the fucking Ducks were. The fucking Seals won tonight, baby. Like, oh, I guess the Ducks are chopped liver. Like, that's not going to happen.
So I think it's an interesting factor here. I think the bye week shouldn't cause problems, but it could. I think for someone like me, I'm hopefully going to be on 3 teams in the fall. So even with a bye week, I'm skating 2 weeks, and I'm hopefully going to the gym 5 to 7 times a week.
Hashtag ladies out there. Follow, subscribe.
40-year-old hashtag 40-year-old fantasy come January. It's all good. But besides that point, but I do feel like that could affect people who are skating once a week, who are, now they're 2 weeks out from a skate. Maybe they're being a little bit lazier, eating stuff. I feel like it could affect their game, team chemistry. It's very hard to say it's going to affect it or not, but I feel like it could affect individual performances.
That's some advanced statistics to kind of say, like, what's the average amount of games that the players who are drafted to a team play? Like, when you look at somebody like, love my boy Sips, but Sips has a lot of scheduling conflicts with work, second job, does a lot of stuff.
He has a tummy ache. He has his cramps, many of things.
Sure, but I can't hear this guy.
Keep going.
Like, comment, subscribe if you can't hear him. However, my point is that my boy Dave, he's half and half sometimes when it comes to actually fucking playing and trying to be able to hit the ice as much as he'd like to. If we're actually saying, like, hey, the Americans, like, Proctor plays multiple times a week, Antioch plays multiple times a week, Sammy Boy plays 1 time a week. I don't know when Keith plays. Sounds like he's playing a little bit of Fridays. Sounds like Simonelli dropped his Thursday league to be able to play on Mondays. Sips is questionable on Wednesdays. Like, I feel comfortable with this team, but what does it actually look like when you kind of boil it down?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how often are these players playing? The Deeks, Gio is playing Mondays, but he's taking Fridays off, or he's doing halftime on Fridays. Like, what does this kind of look like? I look at the Whalers, and the Whalers have fucking Peso, they have Trent, they have you, they have Dave P, like Piercy, who's talking about playing 3 times a week. Like, I've heard Eric plays on Sundays in like a Gross Point League. Like,
I'm playing Sundays up in Macomb now, so I'm coming off of Macomb.
I want to get like the average like man games played per week by these teams, because I think you'd be surprised how much that affects the team, how much these guys are on the ice. So when those bye weeks show up, it's just fucking whatever.
I'm cool. Got a night off.
I took Monday night off.
Yeah.
And I'm playing Wednesday, I'm playing Friday, I'm playing Thursday, and that changes everything.
Right.
When I sub in for like Skillman's team on Thursdays, when it comes to Monday, I'm like, Skillman's team didn't lose on Thursday, so I'm feeling pretty good tonight. Like, it changes everything.
Yeah, it's a play momentum type of
It'll
thing.
also be a very interesting thing. Probably wrap this up pretty soon because we're probably coming close to 2 hours.
Best podcast ever. Who gives a
Absolutely.
shit?
But
Like,
for the
guest star
fact
clause,
of
got Pantydropper in the house. Let's go.
with this new rule of bye team essentially gets first right to subbing, I'll be very interested to see how that plays out, because does that give you have your range of you can go up 3 or 4 picks or whatever it is. You can call them in. If not, you got to go backwards on that, or you can go over to another team. Like, do we have that all sorted out, and how will that work?
So that's a really good point, because we dove in deep on that for the league this past. I want to say it was just like 2 days ago, trying to figure out like what does that subbing situation look like? Do we feel comfortable with it? And we kind of all agree that like, yes, we're gonna try and make that bye week scenario, that bye week player, the right of first refusal. What we kind of called the J-Flow rule back in the day when it came to goalies. Basically, say if a goalie can't play, instead of jumping out to a goalie outside the league, call a goalie in the league. And that's the same kind of concept where we're saying, like, instead of saying, like, oh, I got a boy who plays out with my league in Grosse Pointe, let's call the guy who's sitting at home tonight because his league's not, or his team's not playing in our league. So we all kind of agreed to that with the knowing awareness that sometimes you're going to call that guy, and, like, it's going to, let's look at my round, for example. And, I mean, that's actually a terrible example, because at the end of my round, I think is Dave Sips, who is a great value pick in the end of the 8th round. And I'm the top pick of that 8th round, and I'm a terrible value pick. Regardless.
But at the same
like,
time,
you
Sips
could
will be
get
like,
that
oh,
win.
I have
We
a
call that the
meeting
grandfather rule.
tonight. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, fuck that. But my point being is just like, you're going to pull in, like, you might get a, depending, like, if you're in the middle of the pack, depending on who's on bye that week, you could get Panty, you can get Sips. And that sucks. Sometimes. Sometimes it could be a benefit. Cause
Sometimes you just need a body.
sometimes if you're the Deeks and you're like, oh, we're out Geo, like, we got to call the people who are on bye. And the person on bye is like fucking Antioch. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I like Geo, and I also like Antioch, so I am not crying about this.
I know the Ducks weren't complaining about their pickup yesterday, so
Fair enough.
So
That's my point. Like, sometimes you're going to benefit, sometimes you're going to take a little bit of pain from it. But the idea is, like, in the regular season, which is when this rule is intact, because we're talking about saying when it comes to the playoffs, we're going to say the normal rule is intact. You have to go within these picks. So I'm not going to be like, oh, this is my first rounder, so I guess we'll call him Proctor because he's on bye. Like, that's going to suck for any team that's playing against him in the playoffs.
Right.
In the regular season, we want to try and get to the point where stuff's light. The regular season is for fun, but we want to make it so it's, relatively fair. When it comes to the playoffs, it should try to be as close to the players you can get.
It'll also be interesting because, you'll try to be like, oh, I'd like to get my boy into the league, blah, blah, blah. Maybe I can get him to sub. No, now you might not be able to type of thing where, like, I know I talked about Darren's brothers now there. Like, I talked to him, and like, are you ever possibly available to sub on a Friday type thing, like to get you into the worm connection type thing and get that knowledge base going? So sometimes maybe now it'll be harder to sub into MNL directly, but like maybe you can sub for the K-Falcons, or maybe you can sub for Skillman's Thursday team, or maybe you can sub for WVW. Like,
Shawnee's got his team on Tuesdays.
Yeah, look at those connections of how you can do that. So if spots do start to open up in the future and you want to try to get someone in, you can get that knowledge base going amongst people amongst the league.
I like to believe as like a potential two spring GMs right here. You know, the first guy you call to sub, half the time is fucking like, no, I'm doing something else, or I got to get up early in the morning. Oh, I can't make it. Like, that happens more than you think. Like, it's not like, you know, you're always going to get declined, but there's plenty of times where you're like, oh, hey, you know, Weaver, like, hey, you want to skate for us? It's like, schedule doesn't match up. I can't make it, or I got the kids stuff tonight.
Well,
or-
it's typically got Tuesday and Thursdays, which I'll be coaching.
Yeah.
This little team.
Yeah.
Go Capitals.
Go Caps.
Go Caps.
But that's my kind of point. Of like
No,
sometimes
exactly.
that happens where you're not able to actually control it, and like as soon as you get through that first situation, like I look at so many players in the league where we always get like the players who always get the call. We always call Peso. We always call Sukis. We always call all these players in the league.
Well, they're
and
the
say, like,
dependable
the first
guys you can
opportunity.
usually get.
They're the dependable guys.
Yeah.
When it's like hey Eric, like I love Eric. Invite to his wedding. Congratulations, Eric. Didn't know you were getting married. Love you, baby.
Eric,
What did you really get at Kroger today, Eric?
We're
Just tell
defensive
me.
partners.
Go Whalers.
I digress. When you say like, "Hey, man, Eric, I want you to come last minute to this skate," sometimes like it's just like, no, that doesn't work for my schedule. There's players who don't build their life around MNL.
Hey,
and
I'm
I
just-
still love these players.
Just
but
for the GMs out there listening, I'm a loser and I don't have much going on in life, so
I
I'm
will
a dependable guy.
I will
and call
also
me.
state that unless it's like a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night.
I digress. There are situations where these players are not able
I
always to skate,
digress.
so we will find opportunities for these skaters to play. We just obviously, when those situations come up, just think of your guys. Put them on the sub list, which is probably our next topic.
I think that's a topic for next week.
Yeah, I mean
It's a 5-second topic. Just pitch it.
So we have a topic of, well, actually, I'm gonna swing this topic differently.
Oh, here we go.
There's been talk
Switch rope.
3 years. Where's the website?
Oh.
Well, all right then. So
You've been called out, sir.
before we go in, before we even touch the topic of subbing, so updates on the website. There are probably 3 people who are actively working on it. Justin, myself, and Ryan. We are running into the issue of trying
Actively working on it.
within the last month. All 3 within the last month, like pretty heavily. That's a push.
Don't roll your eyes at me.
There you go. I like how you called that out. I had a long conversation, and by long I mean me sending a whole bunch of messages with Ryan Allen to be like, "Hey, man, like, can you help me with this?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll figure it out." I'm like, "No, I want you to look into it now." And he's just like, "I'll be candid. Like, I haven't really been focusing on MNL and the website right now." I'm like, "It's summer, so I get that, but you know, we're working on it. It's happening." I think our biggest roadblock is we have a back-end guy, we have a front-end guy, we have our database guy, and Eric, once we're able to get him involved, our biggest problem is somebody who's able to be a pro at getting shit into the cloud and DevOps. If you're a DevOps guy, give me a call.
Hey, I was able to spin up infrastructure for this podcast. I set up hosting myself.
I'm gonna
I
nut punch
pay
you so
I pay
fucking
the
hard.
monthly bill for this.
I think he's.
It comes out of my
reading
own
off his
pocket.
resume right now. Actually,
To be fair, that is all true. I spun up infrastructure for this podcast, and I pay the bill every
he
month
is
for
a good
this
applicant.
podcast.
I don't know if he's trying to go for the applicant role, but he might be.
I mean, I just want to put this out there. If you don't think that there is money that doesn't come out of my pocket, that does not come from MNL for hosting our website or anything of the like, you're sorely missing.
All I'm saying is I
Sometimes
got
you
it
have to
done.
get a domain name. It does cost money.
$12 a year. It's expensive.
I know. I got my own.
So, anyways, go back into your. So the website is.
It's in progress. It's slow, but it's moving faster than you've ever expected, which is still at a snail's pace.
So we're hoping for a 2022 season debut.
I'm hoping for 2020. I have confidence that we'll
I
be
think
able
it
to
might be a great MNL Christmas present for the league.
For me, I wanted to debut it at the start of a season to basically be like, yeah, man, we figured this out. Come join our fucking, come look us up on, Google. Google me, baby.
So,
Google me, ref.
So back to the subject. If we're gonna ever have a public sub list, we needed that website. But back to what you want to talk about, the public sub list.
So that's a goddamn lie. Public sublist
I think
is available at stats.mnlhl.com.
It's true.
Click on sublist. If you have interest, you can email me directly at jdrager2@gmail.com, or you could put in anything at mnlhl.com, and it will get to me. Subs at mnlhl.com will come to me eventually.
Within about 12 hours of response time, right?
I mean, I got work to do. But the point is, if you're interested in subbing, if you're interested in joining the league, if you're interested in anything, the sooner you contact
Sponsorships,
the better. That's at sponsor at mnlhl.com. I hate the wordful. How much
sponsored?
effort it takes.
Come on, man. We're in
MNLHL.
We're in 2019. We need some acronyms now.
I wish I could have gone MNL.com. It would have been so much easier. Anyways, I digress. If you want to sub, if you want to do anything, type in that anything at mnlhl.com, and it comes directly to me. Except for podcasts, it goes to Piercy.
Well, he's kind of the forerunner right now.
I mean, he deserves that.
He does.
I mean, stuff like the website, people talk about stuff. Other things like the podcast, people actually do things. So,
wow.
one's a reality,
wow.
one's a dream.
Oh, wow. That was heavy. But it's kind of truthful.
Dude, I'm going to pants this kid so hard when the website comes out. I'm like, what'd you do, Brian? He's like, well, I made the podcast. Like,
This is the top 10 Squarespace website of all time.
Homeboy doesn't act like I'm not managing a separate. There is an MNLHL.com website. It's a little bit underwhelming, but it does host information for the podcast. He
got the
acts like it doesn't
basics.
exist. It's got the basics.
Hey,
the
I'm a
basics.
WordPress admin. I know what it's all about. I'm sure there's nobody listening at this point. So we're probably about the 2 hour
I was just going to
mark.
say, guys, these guys are getting into Smargoats now. So, hey, let's just wrap it up.
So Cam, first time here.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the studio, the setup?
It's fun, man. I would recommend a lot of the leaguers to come and join. It's you can hang out, have a couple beers, talk to your boys, really get your word out about what you think about the league. I'll definitely want to return if I'm welcome.
So for the record, somehow we still appear to have 6 people watching us.
Wow.
I'm excited to see the actual people who will listen to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for the record,
It's probably Dave P because he has nothing else to do with his life. So
I'm going to say Dave P,
I love you,
Dylan.
Dave.
Right now it's me, probably
Sips.
Piercy, Sips, and you. I think that's the 6
I
right
think
now.
I'm off right now. So
Oh, shit, you are. Then who's our mystery?
to be
question.
discovered.
Good question.
either way.
Either way.
Either way.
I think we wrap it up right now.
Dave P claims he's in for next week. Hopefully Troy and Hedis will be back.
I would like to get a Dcunn on the show. He's been talking a lot. He's a very big
I
sack
sent
guy.
Dcunn a message a couple of days ago asking him if he'd come on for September 3rd, which we be doing, which reminds me is
we
we are
going
going to be
opening,
holding a league-wide contest where we have prop bets based on the Dcunn Awards plus other prop bets as well.
Okay.
I'm hoping to send those out probably the week before that podcast starts. All entries will be due by email before the season starts, and those would also include then a weekly pick'em contest. Instead of doing them on the announcements channel, I will require those in an email because it's just very hard for people changing or whatever. As long as they're in before the first game starts 9 o'clock, they will count. But I'm hopefully by next Monday we'll get that announcement out there. OFP will be sponsoring that, it sounds like, with a pair of tickets for the Red Wings game. So
hop on
fun
it.
league-wise contest. You
Jump
know,
on it.
the fun thing about that is that with the weekly pick'em, you're never going to be out of it based on those season-long prop bets, which could put you back in the running.
Yeah.
So I think that will be a lot of fun there. Like I said, we now have the 4th microphone. We didn't get to test it out this week.
I know. I'm kind of Hedis. Shout out to you, buddy. It's just fucking water. So next time.
I tried.
But
Saying.
like I said, sounds like we have Dave P locked in for next week. Hopefully we have Dcunn after that. But after that, it's free. Send me a message if you're interested in coming in. As always, give us a...
I would like to do a goalie roundtable if possible one week.
Yeah, I'd like to get Coan in here. Coan, Hedis, and you just
Yes.
pressure fucking Piercy about that
Oh,
one play in
man.
season 1 where he hit Coan.
That was, I
Fuck that guy.
I think that was season 2.
it was season 1.
Actually,
I remember. You were a seal.
there was
That
some
goes back to-
conversation today. Piercy wanted to bring up basically a little summary of what he really wanted to say is why are goalies such bitches?
I believe it was our goalie's too sensitive. As if
Why are
someone
goalies such bitches?
as someone like Coan, someone comes in my crease and I'm going to start hitting them in the face and calling them a dick fuck. But yet, when I'm a player, I run into goalies all the time and I fall and I'm a little bitch.
And
but
That's
knock 'em
the
out.
best aspect
And knock
of
'em
this.
out.
So
Sorry,
I
Coan.
want to call out 2 important dates.
Yes.
Piercy alluded to one.
Go ahead.
One of them is the September 3rd. The goal is to try and have Dcunn in the studio to be able to talk about his awards and get him on the podcast and talking. I think that's huge. I think it's going to be a big, big podcast. It's going to be a special. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Number 2, it's going to be September 9th, opening season for MNL. I think one of the important things to mention is that this is going to be a big night. We're going to be having our first jersey retirement.
And what our official first puck drop as well?
It's going to be our official first puck drop. So we have a lot of fun in our league.
it's,
but we're going to retire a jersey. Our fan favorite Scott Wilkie decided to retire this season.
God bless you, buddy.
God bless him. I love him. I wish he didn't, but it's his choice, and that's okay. It's he did the classic. I had a conversation with my family, and I weighed all the options and all that type of stuff.
Kind of like did like the Datsuk kind of style. Is
I mean, if you consider the KHL basically the equivalent of a 50 and over league, yes. Anyway,
trying to
maybe
find some
he could sub
correlation
this
there?
year. Who knows?
he
Exactly.
was asked to
Oh, by
sub
the way,
last night.
Hal appearance.
Hell
last night.
appearance because he's not. I mean, he's planning to come back. He's not retired. He's just taking a season off.
Exactly.
So he's planning to come back. But for my boy Wilkie, we're planning a jersey retirement, big ceremony, puck
time.
drop, everything.
Big time.
I'm
what
gonna try and
jersey's
push-
being retired? What team? Is it a Seals, like original, like keg or?
We're talking about an league-wide Gretzky-style retirement. Nobody's wearing 65 ever again
Yes.
because that's Wilkie's classic number year after year after year.
Here's a question: should we, if we're doing that, should we name it the Wilkie Cup or Wilkie Keg?
Absolutely fucking not, Piercy.
I think that's really forward. I think
It was a question.
I
It was a
know.
we
question.
can do like a Wilkie Award.
I like the Wilkie Award. I feel like if Wilkie was like Proctor, if it was Proctor and he was like, I'm feeling a little over.
I mean,
wanna
Gretzky didn't
retire.
get the Stanley Cup named after him. You know what I mean? So like,
Exactly.
why would, I mean, no
It's-
offense,
it's-
Wilkie,
his name's
but
not Lord Wilkie.
I mean, my
Exactly.
point is,
I love Wilkie, and I still think that's very forward. To say.
my point is that there's nothing that kind of bothers me more than people saying, "Oh, you're gonna win the Stanley Keg." It's like that's very hacky. We need to come either just call it the Keg, or eventually, not saying right now, over time, it needs to get a name.
So I'm not necessarily disagreeing with Piercy. If you go onto a lot of websites, they're like, "Hey man, what do you call your guys' hockey trophy?" They're like,
Stanley Keg.
"Oh, we have a keg and we call it the Stanley Keg." Like that's actually really popular. So I'm not gonna try and force it right now, but I'm potentially open to a rebrand, and maybe it's a little bit after the fact and it feels a little forced, but like it's not a very original name, which doesn't feel really MNL. So I'm not against keeping it as a Stanley Keg, but if somebody comes up with something good, like I wouldn't kick it out of bed. I digress. Back to the conversation at hand. We're retiring Scott Wilkie's jersey for the entire league. No one's wearing 65 ever again. League mandate. 9/9/19. September 9th, 2019. Big event. I'm trying to push that we're going to live stream it
I would love to live
and
stream
have
that
a puck
night.
drop. I think
Yeah.
we'll have a little bit more fun that night too with a
We
lot
are
of
gonna
things
have
going on.
got some stuff cooking right
We
now.
got a lot of stuff cooking for our
We
season
need to make
opener.
sure if we live stream, we also record in case the live stream goes haywire. And so
That-
we have the
I mean,
video that we can
Yeah,
post
that was
later
the
on.
bummer about the draft, but
Yeah,
hey, you live
that's-
and you learn, right?
That's the House of Shamrocks for you. Hopefully, our sponsor, I see you watching out there, they can try to invest in some, fiber optics or something, trying to improve it, but we can get better.
I believe we got a pretty sweet media team who's always down, so we can figure it out.
So I digress. September 9th, 2019, season opener. Going to have a lot of fun.
Big year for the
ceremonial
league.
puck drop. Big year for the league. Expansion, everything. So be sure to tune in. We'll find a way to either cover it after the fact with some good media coverage, or we're going to cover it after the fact or during the fact with some good live streams for you to be able to watch live at twitch.tv/MNLHL.
So just to wrap a few things up, next week it looks like we have at 9 o'clock on Monday, we have the North Stars versus the Whalers, and then we're finishing things up at 10 o'clock with the Tigers versus the Deeks. That'll be our last preseason game of the week. Hopefully we'll be having Hedis and Troy back, along with Dave P., who already has volunteered to be our special co-host.
Whatever it takes to get rid of the two of us.
Right?
Yeah,
We've been drinking the whole time.
No.
Either way, then followed by that, I think our plan is on September 3rd to hopefully hold our prop bets, which are going to be based on the Dcunns plus some other ones to enter our contest going into the season. And then we'll have opening night where we'll be looking for someone to be a correspondent the week after opening night. If you want to, send me a invite or send me a message on Slack. Also, if you have any insider tips on things going on with the league, feel free to direct message me for the tips and rumors. You know, as the voice of MNL, I'll be glad to kind of spread those around and see what's going on.
We're confidently going to have a podcast on the 3rd and the 10th of September, right? We're going to be covering.
That is the plan as of right
Good.
now. I know
All right.
Troy and Hedis said they were both available. I feel like the 3rd is the big one.
Hedis is available. Sure.
The 3rd, I feel like, is the big one. I feel like that's where we want to do the prop bets for the Dcunns, and plus the other bets. I feel like that'll be a nice, interesting episode. And then from then, we'll start working on our format of how we're going to be covering games / looking at games in the future. We'll go from there.
All right.
So, as a reminder, go check out the YouTube channel. We have the song that's sweeping the nation of MNL.
It's beautiful.
How many views? You say sweeping the nation.
I think
Have you hit all 50 states? Have you hit 50?
we're in the mid 40s, I believe, as of
I
right
can
now.
help push that 50
So
state
we're almost
real
to
quick.
50 to potentially assume that it's 50 states.
You know,
All right, sweeping
so
the
anyways-
nation.
I know I got some viewers in Colorado already listening, so
Call the Whoop line, 714-75
75
Whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Leave us a voicemail. Sam, I'm talking to you. Tom Phillips, talking to you as well. You want to get back into this league, start participating. Mr. Pfister, love to hear from you. Send us an email at podcast@mnlhl.com. But besides that, I think we are just about out of here. And
Alright,
we
guys.
are over.
yeah.
Sam, I know where you are. Hit us up with those
Guys signing out.
voicemails.